Walker, our finance director, and Bobby Pickens, our city attorney, and Karen Hayes, our clerk. With that, Commissioner Banks, I'm gonna ask you to please lead us in invocation. Stand if you're able, please.
Once again, Father, we come together to give you thanks and to praise and to lift up your most holy name. Father, we ask that you lead us and guide us and keep us. We pray for our community that we come together and stay together. Pray for this commission and all their family. We ask this in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner, you know, if you would like me, Mike can take that and move it. We'll readjust that. That works for you. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up for public comments. And we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak, please come forward. You have 3 minutes. Seeing no one come forward, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna move into our business items, which is the minutes starting with June 8th. How do we want to proceed with this, commissioners? We've got quite a few minutes that we need to get through.
Personally, I think we have a line in the sand, because this is kind of ridiculous. And, the workshop really should say, how do we want to move forward? Because writing novels really, I don't think is the ideal way to do minutes. I have never believed in that. And that's what I think this meeting should be about.
I did look over the minutes and took out all the sort of non-decision narrative, to really pare them down.
If you look at the most recent meetings, those are very much pared down, very easy to get through. This though, we have to have the special meeting because we've got to get these, as you can tell, we have, quite a list that's growing. We need to get these approved and taken care of and move on to the actual business. This is business that's.
I move to approve the minutes. Yeah, go ahead. You can start.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, we're gonna have discussion. So, Commissioner DeVito.
Yes, well, folks, regardless of what our preference is, I'm not exactly sure what Commissioner Burton means about this is not the way to do minutes. It's my understanding, and the way I've always done it, with organizations and on state boards of the state of Florida, the minutes are prepared, and if there are corrections or additions, they are done in meeting. So, there are two separate issues. One is, how much narrative do we want in the minutes? And the other is, the minutes should be a correct reflection of what was done. And I think the quickest thing to do is just to go through them. I have quite a few in each one. Well, I have several, they add up, of things that need to be corrected. There's misspellings, people's names are left out, it's the wrong thing. There's one set of minutes where it says, I left the room and it doesn't reflect that I returned. So I think it's just faster to go through them.
Okay, if you want to, I am gonna weigh in on this because prior to, and I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole, but we did, to where we have become quite narrative in our.
Too much.
In our minutes, and we have to be, very careful that, these minutes, they are a reflection, of the actions that were taking place and the words that were spoken. And, if they're not exact, it could really, it sets us up. And so that's been my concern all along. And as we go through and make changes, Karen, I did see how you did those the last, I believe, 2 meetings. And that, it basically does exactly what these minutes should do. if somebody needs additional information, we have not only YouTube, but she has an audio that we're required to keep.
Mhm.
And so, if somebody needs something more, if they want to listen, if they need that, and they have that opportunity, you know, Karen's trying to interpret, how we all have a different, tone in our voice, we all have, you know, a different accent, and she is trying to interpret that in her words. And it does get, I know it gets a little difficult, and we've all listened to these from time to time, and so to be able to, go through them, so,
Another thing I'd like to kind of bring up is she's not just doing the commission meetings, she's doing all the meetings.
yeah.
I mean, you know, you may as well just give her a full-time job writing novels every month on meetings, to the extent that, you know, that way maybe everything would be correct, everything would be exact, because then she can go through and do all that. Not only does she have the minutes to write, but she is the clerk of the court, and she has, excuse me, she's the clerk of the city clerk, and I've just been, I'm sorry.
She has those duties and responsibilities,
She
but
has
that's
those duties and responsibilities that, you know, those things, she's interrupted as she's doing these things, that she's busy doing other things. And I just think it's been very unfair, you know, to place her writing a novel, and even this is a lot. You know, when I went through this is still a lot in here. If I go back and I look at the minutes, of our last city clerk, they were one page long. And I'm not saying I think we're getting a lot more done, mind you, but I think that, you know, 2, possibly 3 pages of, hey, this is what we voted on, this is the action, these people said yay, and this person said nay, and we move on with these minutes. And if I need any other detail, which sometimes I do, I always go back to YouTube. That's the way I feel.
well, and as we, there are some scrivener's errors, I have some too, you're gonna have that. When you've got this volume and you're reading it, I mean, I can read it once, I can go over it again, and I can find something else and say, how did I miss that? Because, but I do believe that if this commission decides that we need detail as far as discussions, then it would be my recommendation that we have a stenographer, that we hire a stenographer.
We hear that, yes.
To do this.
It's my understanding the purpose of this meeting was to go over the corrections in addition to the minutes and get them.
Well, that's what we're doing, before we do that, though, we're gonna hash this out. We need to hash some of this out, because we're gonna get to the bottom of this, and that discussion's gonna come up anyway.
At the bottom of what? I'm not understanding.
To the end of the to the end of the minutes, when she's taking those and she's short. So let's get started. Go ahead, Commissioner DeVito, what changes do you have that we need to consider?
Okay, on June 8th commission meeting on page 3, and I know at the top, well, this is just an observation, there was quite a bit of material taken out. Nobody requested that to be done. Halfway down the page, Charlie Beam, his name's been corrected, says he talked about the Crescent City trying to get the school site, period. He had a very specific point that I think was the main purpose of
And what was
him
that?
being there, including the waterfront 5 acres.
Okay, so you wanna add including the waterfront 5 acres?
Yes, that he believes is an invaluable asset to the city, period. That's
This
what
is
he
how
said.
I would like to, we have a motion and we have a second for the minutes, but as you go through and we make these changes, I'd like us to kind of go through and everybody be in agreement with that.
Sure.
So is everyone in agreement with adding, including waterfront 5 acres?
Whatever it takes.
Okay,
Move on.
okay, so let's do that. Okay, continue, Commissioner DeVito.
Yes, on page 4, at the top of the page, under public comment, right under public comment, it says Diane Kelly. There's 2 extra superfluous words in there. It says saw and. You don't need those 2 words. It should just say spoke on animal control. I think that would be better.
Okay, take that out. Is everyone in agreement?
Yep.
Okay, we'll continue.
Okay, on page 5, the paragraph, first 3 lines, George Young's name, it needs an E.
Okay,
Okay, and then the next paragraph that starts, Mayor Myers stated the commission must look at this as well. If you go 3 lines down, says Commissioner DeVito stated we had a legal opinion.
and it was incorrect.
Well, right, but it was a legal opinion on another subject. I was not talking about the subject at hand of the fees. I was talking about a legal opinion on another subject. I was very clear about that. That's what I was
What's the other
talking about.
subject?
What was the other subject that you had a legal opinion on?
We had, well, and it was a verbal legal opinion. It was the opinion about, a lease with the city. Bobby remembers, you corrected that.
Yeah.
But it was a verbal opinion on another subject. That was the point of it. I don't want it to be misconstrued, but I was talking about the, current subject because we didn't get any incorrect opinions on that.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, have under CRA on the same page, page 5 of June 8th. On the vote, it says Commissioner Burton moved to extend the grant deadline. At the end of the second sentence, it says Commissioner DeVito left the room. If that could just reflect for a short break, it does not indicate that I ever came back. And
What, we could just say she left the room and returned after the vote was taken.
okay,
Oh,
so,
so just take that whole sentence out.
Yeah, right. It's under the right section, just.
well, I think, is that supposed to explain, were we only 4 people then? Does that explain why I didn't?
No, we were 5.
We were 5.
We were
Okay,
5 at
well,
that time.
I was gonna say either,
Returned after vote was taken.
Yeah.
Okay? Is that good?
sure, yeah, I just wanted to reflect that I did not leave for the day.
Otherwise, it's gonna be that, you know, you gotta take a bathroom break or something, so.
Well,
I don't
I don't think we need to do that.
I really want to put that in there. Okay, so let's go on.
Right, and then on page 6, just as a clarification to be more accurate, under city commission, it says Commissioner Banks would like the tree at Culver Park. I think
It
it's
should be, be removed, to be removed, the 2 could be taken out of there too.
A tree, you removed.
Right, it was a tree, because there's certainly more than one at Culver Park.
Did you get that? Okay, I do have one
Yes.
correction.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, can you do that?
I've got quite a few, but I'm just gonna, go ahead.
Scroll down as we get there.
Okay, page 6. Okay, we were up on the city commission, and we're talking about Cobra Park, and then we're talking about China Walk. But it's 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences down. It was Commissioner DeVito that explained she hadn't seen the garbage there, and she explained she didn't understand the urgency and was going. Not me.
There you go. That was me, you're right.
Okay, see, and this is like I said, this is why when we get into conversations, this can get us in trouble.
That would've got me in a lot of trouble.
Did you have anything for this 7 minutes, so we just
Yeah.
not have to go back to it?
No, I'm not going back to it. Okay,
Okay.
okay, everybody good with that one? Let's move on to July 26th, Commissioner DeVito.
Okay, so we're gonna adopt them as a whole after we look at the whole thing.
Yes.
Okay, on July 26th, I don't know if we should reflect at the top who is there. Apparently Clarion had a representative, Mike Fitzgerald. His name is on the second page.
Yes.
So I don't know if we want to put that
I
up
think
at the
we
top.
put in there that whenever he spoke, that was
What
fine.
page was that, please?
Page 1.
I'm good with how it currently.
Because it's not a number of.
Right, okay.
Do you have anything else on the first page?
I don't know, the syntax is not good, it could use cleaning up. But I guess I'll just leave it as it is.
On the next page, I have a correction, Rachel McKenzie's name is spelled wrong.
It's RACHELD, I believe, right?
Yes, it ends in a E. And as well, I was gonna ask that we put after Rachel McKenzie, she's a resident, and she's a Crescent City resident from, South Lake Street.
Yeah, they're not putting their address, I don't think we need to add that.
But she's a resident.
It doesn't matter, I think that if she wants to add her address, she had an opportunity to do that, and if she did not add her address, then obviously she didn't want her address for the fact that she was a resident.
But, under the Mike Fitzgerald, since he's here from McLaren, should that be noted on there? Cause it just says Mike
Yes,
Fitzgerald.
Yes,
Wanted to put on public record.
yes.
'Cause
Mike Fitzgerald, with a Clarion, representing Clarion,
when I went through this, I was not aware that that's who that was.
representing a Clarion.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
and just an observation, that's what I mean about the minutes need to be an accurate reflection of what happened, that they did send someone, so.
If you go back to that, Karen, it's, the city is claiming that Clarion breached the end of the contract by not performing the duties they're contracted to do. I think it was that they breached the contract, not the end of the contract, so I think that needs to be stricken, end of the contract. And then it
What
comes.
page is that?
That's on the first page, third paragraph. And if you come down to the, fifth paragraph, it says Commissioner DeVito stated the city manager is recommended to reject the offer, is recommending to reject the offer. And Bobby Pickens stated he is not able to tell the commission, not you, to accept the offer or decline the offer. Any other changes on this?
Actually, on that page, yes, to be accurate, on the first page of special meeting 726, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth paragraph down that starts, staff recommended rejecting the offer. The last sentence, which is Bobby's statement, where it says outside the scope, should really insert after the word of their existing contract. And I don't know what it says, and the charge can be 5,000. I think it would be better to say as much as 5,000. I don't think he meant a specific $5,000. But it would be outside the scope of their
It could
existing
have been, I mean, that could have gone either way. Bobby, do you recall
I recall
I
that, it
recall,
sounded
yeah.
to me that he said pay $5,000.
Just $5,000.
as much as 5,000? Okay. We need to make sure that Karen gets this before we move on. Okay, is everybody good with that? Yes, sir?
That second, or was it fifth paragraph there, where we're talking about the city breach,
Uh-huh.
its contract, and then the for not making payments needs to be added on to that sentence.
Yes, I have that on mine too, or not, yeah, take that out,
Yeah,
and it
because
says,
that's just a,
that's a,
it's just a clause that we're playing off. I just want to.
do you see that, Karen, at the end? Okay. I've got my next two. Okay, we're good with that, let's move on to August 3rd, 2023. Commissioner DeVito, I'll start with you.
Sure, thank you. This is, I don't know. It was my understanding at this workshop, we also discussed the Better Place Plan funds.
It's on there.
It's on there, Better Place Fund, bottom of the page.
So then on the second page, there's a heading that said general fund. Charles Rudd explained the general fund, the goal is to bring it down to 0.
Should be a zero-based budget, is that correct, Charles?
Yeah.
Zero-based budget and not zero. I have that on mine as a change, zero-based budget. And also, however, the goal is to stay at not zero, but a balance. Charles, how did you want to phrase that at the end? It says, however, the goal is to stay at zero.
That was the difference between revenues and expenditures is zero.
So, you
Just
know,
stay balanced.
Yeah.
Would work.
stay balanced.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Commissioner DeVito?
Yes, so right under that, in the second paragraph, it says Commissioner DeVito stated she's concerned about spending all the enterprise funds. I am very certain that I said the Better Place Plan funds. Because there was a list and that was brought down to zero.
I'll listen to it again.
I don't think I've ever said I was concerned about something.
And you'll change that accordingly, here, you'll change that accordingly with however it was, that whatever funds that she did say, okay, so it's accurate.
I'll listen to it again.
I believe if we go back to wastewater fund, we're on the 1, 2, 3, 4th one down. Wastewater and a water plant operator. I think that should be Jason, who is certified in both wastewater and water plant operation. Is that correct, Charles?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you need to change to?
See where it says where Jason, it says Charles Rudd explained the city has Jason, who is certified in both wastewater and a water plant operator. It should be certified in both wastewater and water plant operation.
So he's certified as both.
Do we have any other changes, commissioners?
No, that's good.
Okay, let's move on to August 3rd, 2023. Commissioner Burton, I'll start with you on your end.
I gotta do this for a minute.
Okay, Commissioner Banks, you're good, Commissioner Ford?
Remember, I still don't.
We're on August 3rd, 2023.
LDC update.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
most of my stuff is Scrivener errors and she's fixed.
Okay.
Right, and
Stuff like that.
actually, I just wanted to point out, Commissioner Lori, sorry, I won't call you Commissioner BJ. He sent before the last regular meeting, a whole list of the minutes highlighted, and, under 3B3, one of his corrections submitted has already been corrected. Originally, it said the maximum height,
Yeah,
right, should be 150 square feet. I checked some of those, and so it's already been changed to maximum square footage. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we have to, get that accurate. So Commissioner Ward did that, and that was done by the court, I guess.
I'm good.
Okay, on that one, if you come down to the level of service standards, Commissioner Vito had a question on parks and recreation in the city's comprehensive plan. I would put period, the standard wasn't expressed by acres per person, it was measured in a different way. Yes.
Right on.
Yeah. That's all I have. Commissioner Vito, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Looks like the figures and so on.
Okay, let's go on to August 9th. I got some of those too, but August 9th, 2023. Commissioner Vito, I'll start on your end.
Should we, my question is about, who was in attendance. It does not say Supervisor of Elections, Charles Overton, although it says Captain Essery. And then
We can add, so you want to add him? I'd like it, yes, so Supervisor of Elections, you want to add him.
right, and I think his name should kind of precede Captain Essery's as a matter of, I don't know, policy, whatever, not policy, just etiquette, because he is an elected official.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, you might probably have this already.
I don't know about that, because when it comes into, this is kind of more our staff, this is, to me, this is more staff. He was a guest speaking, So to me, when I look at this up here, like Captain Essery, he's hired contractually with us as staff. Pam Taylor, she's there, Bobby, he's hired contractually to see it. That's kind of where and I think that should, just for her, I don't know how, Commissioner, how do you feel about that?
I'm sorry, explain that again now.
Well, she wants to add Charles Overturf, Supervisor of Elections, and she wants to put him really before Captain Essery, but she wants to put him up in who was present. Because I think anytime we have, like, we're gonna have Commissioner Pickens could be here and he could be speaking. Yes, they're present, I think we give them that coverage or, down a little bit further. recognize them when it's actually.
And so I'm gonna need to add that, then, because it's not, it doesn't point out who it is.
So I think if we do that, whenever he goes to, you know, when he speaks, Charles Overchurch, it should be supervisor of elections.
Right, that's on page 2, but my thought is he should be there because actually we've delegated our election functions to him.
And you could add that, I mean, that is a valid point, that is a valid point.
That's why I thought he belonged.
Commissioners, is everyone okay with adding him to the top?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then.
And then, in the second, under announcements by the chair, I think your last name needs an S.
It does.
And business items needs an S. I think,
Yes.
because there was.
Did your S key work that day, or maybe not?
I was trying to get them done.
I think if you come down on that first page and in public comment, you have a Kevin T.O. And he said voting, conflict was not properly filled out right. I don't know, not properly filled out and right, I don't know, if you should drop the right, should be period,
Period.
filled out period. Warned the commission how they proceed, I think he warned us on how they proceed tonight, but, and when you go to the second page where it says, would like a motion to set the date for the election, that would be the group 2 vacancy election. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down.
Do you want me to add election,
It would be group 2 vacancy.
Yes.
Promotion or something.
vacancy, election,
Yes.
take out C?
That's.
1, 2, 3,
that's the third
4,
line down.
5 down.
5 down.
So Mayor, you're saying 5 lines
Just
down,
set the date for the election, that's fine.
Thank you.
right, would be group 2 election.
I just want to, halt for just a second. Veronica, I can't thank you enough. She's been here this afternoon with students and helping, spark, the city sparkle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank them too, please. And he said, as you go down to where Charles Overturf discussed the recall, you see where that is, and it says, now that I have a special election day, it should be, I would take the now that the special election date is set, I believe, he has the right to go to the judge.
Where is that, Mayor?
That's the next paragraph now?
Yeah.
Like, the next part after.
I think I have a,
Well, I think that's the way he actually talks, but it doesn't matter.
and that's where we get into an issue with.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's basically, that's the gist of it, is the special election date. And then down here, on the end, Charles Overturf explained the LNA,
Where is that?
Select Canvassing Board for Group 2 election.
The LNA, the logic, and, yeah, I remember about it. Is it what's that stand for, the logic and accuracy?
That's right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So we probably wanna, just for information.
yeah, I remember reading that, I was like, is that something everybody knows but me, but.
I thought maybe it was Baldwin.
Okay, do we have any other, Commissioner Vito, do you have any other changes?
Well, on page 2, I think this is important. I think there was public comment. Bless you. Don't give us a cold. They're going around. There was public comment, and that says Chris Coleman, Elizabeth Gomez, in the next sentence, Charles Overturf explained why this was not known, and actually, this was really, it should say, the issue of Commissioner Bailey's qualification to serve in office was not known. I think there was a question about that, but this is the issue of Commissioner Bailey's qualifications to serve in office.
Karen, if you would, I think just to err on the side of caution here, since this is still a case, you might wanna just, I hate to ask you to do this, but you might wanna listen to it and see if he did say how he actually stated that, so that there's accuracy there.
So this is the, how do you want it changed, please? This is the issue of
Explain,
Commissioner Bailey.
His qualification to serve in office,
Yeah.
not just the word this, but what he was saying. I think, it wasn't a question, I think Charles Overturf had received questions and wanted to explain, this doesn't mean the setting of the election.
I think,
Yeah.
I think if you literally said this, you can put in brackets
Yeah.
the explanation.
Yes.
Yeah,
He didn't say that explanation, but that's what it was.
and it would be Commissioner Baylor's qualification to serve.
And because I think he got a lot of questions, you know,
Well, he was explaining,
right, why did we wind up
and
here?
that didn't have any.
Okay, anything else?
I don't know, the wording for the vote at the bottom of the page is a little off, but I think we get the gist.
That's exactly how, when it comes to the vote, I do verbatim on them. So if something is amiss, I'll have to,
Well,
but when the vote is, that's how exactly how it
That's the
says.
motion.
Okay,
That's how, exactly how it's,
thank you for that clarification.
just so that you all
Commissioner
know.
Dia, do you have any other changes, or we continuing, I'd like to continue on?
Yeah, let's keep moving.
okay, on page 3, motion to accept staff recommendation. Okay, under request for donation to South Putnam Christian Service Center,
I know, so,
isn't that what
or
it
it
is?
is something, yeah, it was originally just said from Christian Service Center.
Right,
Rather than another fix, so, that's
um,
some Christian services.
I don't know,
So what are we changing here?
well,
My change was done.
I don't know, this is under the vote, there was a specific fund that the money came from, but
It was,
at this point,
yeah,
we just won't
eight
worry about
recommendations. Right above that though, the vote for the canvassing board,
it.
Karen, usually you have the vote at the end, you say roll call is taken, aye, and then it should say motion passed 4-0.
Yeah,
On which one?
Right above that.
at the very top of page 3.
That was the one, I found it and then I couldn't find it again.
Okay, but Mayor, I do have something.
The results of the vote, is
Yeah.
what Shirley's put on, there's another one in here too that have it, yes, Commissioner Dia.
Sure, at the bottom of the page, again, the paragraph that says vote, first line, the word lean, L-E-A-N,
Right.
that's L-I-E-N.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
let's move on to page 4. If you come over here, I'll go ahead and jump in here and vote. Commissioner DeVito moved to reduce the lien to 500. Commissioner Banks seconded the motion. Commissioner Banks withdrew his second motion, and the original motion died for lack of a second.
So Richard the second.
Yeah.
Not second.
Not second, that's what I meant, I'm sorry, and the, original motion died for lack of a second.
Karen, you got that?
No, but that's okay.
Under the fine reduction case,
Upper 514 lemon,
yeah, and the vote, it just says, the second line, it says Commissioner Banks withdrew his second motion, it just should be Commissioner Banks withdrew his second.
and it died for lack of a second. Okay, commissioners, anything else on page 4? Okay, let's go to page 5. Do you have anything on this? This is a little, to me, if you go down to discussion of possible legislative requests, I just went ahead and struck all of that first part and just Charles Rudd discussed the legislative request to the commission.
Yeah, I know on that, because I was like,
And so I would strike those first two lines. That's my recommendation. If everyone in agreement with that.
Which two lines now?
Right here, discussion of possible legislative request. I recommend we requested last year's request funding again. The commission may also want to discuss any other requests, and I think Charles Rudd discussed the legislative request to the commission. So that's where it would start.
so the Charles Rudd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is everyone okay with
yeah,
that?
these first two
Yeah.
sentences.
Commissioner DeVito, do you have any other changes on page 5?
Yes, actually,
Okay,
wherever it is after the sentence that you want to leave in there, Charles Rudd discussed the legislative request to the commission, and then he showed a presentation of
the request, it should be
the
request.
request. Did we actually vote on this?
It was just a discussion.
No, this was just a discussion, this was just a
To get
discussion,
consensus from.
yeah.
Okay. We must have voted in another meeting.
And it's further in here, I believe, than that.
And I think it must be, yes, on page 6, second line down where it says 5% increase, should say 5% salary increase.
Okay, and I ended that with time ran out without a decision.
Yeah, we did, ran out without a decision.
Right, yeah.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
That's true.
But we voted on it in another meeting.
Right.
We did, but not at this meeting, and so it's, we need to put on the time ran out without a
That's
decision.
your question.
Okay, let's move on, if everybody's good, we'll move on to August 29th, 2023.
The emergency.
It was the emergency meeting that we had. You might wanna put on there, I know it's special meeting here, we might wanna put, you know,
Emergency.
emergency, yeah.
Because there's no notice for it, or there's just a.
There was a,
We don't, we want to make sure it helps.
That's page 1, right?
if you come down, it says August 3rd, 2023, it should be August 31st, 2023. And that's, Charles Road announced City Hall will be closed on Wednesday, August 30th due to tropical storm, and will reopen on Thursday, August 31st. Do we have any other changes on here? Commissioner Burton?
No.
You good, Commissioner Banks? Commissioner Ford?
No, I'm good. We might have, since it was an emergency meeting, we might also want to go up there somewhere that was noticed, and how far in advance was noticed, just so we have that in minutes. I just thought, I don't remember audience.
It was noticed that
It was
we,
noticed 24 hours before.
Was it, we just might want to put that in there, I just think.
following, we followed the charter as required,
So
we had to
we wanted
go
to
to the,
We can put it up at the very first paragraph there, at the beginning. Or just, after Commissioner Burton was excused, say, the meeting was noticed, by posting at City Hall and on the website 24 hours in advance. According to charter.
according to charter. Not according to the city charter. Properly noticed. Okay, any other changes on that? Commissioner DeVito?
Very last sentence where Mayor Myers announced the sandbags would be, should really say available.
Available at, I put that, I had it in my changes, available at.
Right, and it's really available at Huntington Road from the county, because we don't supply those.
We just,
Is that what you ran for, right?
It's across from.
the county opened that up at 8 AM, so,
Okay, but just available at Huntington Road.
At Huntington.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, anything else? No. Okay, let's move on to September 7th, 2023.
That meeting was adjourned at 1:20 p.m., correct?
At this one, adjourned at 1:20 PM.
You put the PM on there,
That was the meeting, the emergency meeting here. Okay, September 7th, Commissioner Burton? Commissioner Banks?
Well, this was a workshop,
Yeah, this is a workshop.
so it's a little different. And I think some of this was replaced once we came to the vote at a commission meeting. wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Tweaking.
Yeah, so this was tweaked, so as far as this, the workshop minutes are probably,
I have on the first page, staff is, where it says North CRA Karen, staff is recommended, staff recommended for grant. Take out the is. Commissioner DeVito, you have anything on page 1?
No, not on page 1.
Okay, then let's move on to page 2. Commissioner Moore, you're good on page 1?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to page 2.
Okay, I have a couple. Third paragraph from the bottom, the last line, it's where David Frank, the paragraph starts, David Frank, Natural Gas Director. The very last line, the word renal is there, it's the rental.
Yes.
Right, there's just a T missing, but it's rental. And then if you go back up to the top, the paragraph under 107 North Main Street, RFQ posted. After the word RFQ, it really should say for architectural and engineering services,
Let's be for architectural services.
just art, not engineering.
Correct.
Okay, for architectural services.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know if we need the words to get a company to come in. Just the words to get a company to come in and give the city plans. I don't know. I mean, it's so that the
Yeah,
architectural
well, okay,
plans allow us
let's
to get grants.
let's just go ahead and strike it. For architectural services,
Yes.
to give the city, posted, to give the city, to give the city plans. Take that out, to get a company to come in and give the city plans. Yes. To give the city plans, okay.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
I don't know, just it might for clarification, where it says Tony and Kathy Burke thank the commission for considering their church. For clarification, you might want to put in parentheses Jethro Baptist. That's the one they're talking about. Oh, Jethro.
Jethro,
Yeah.
What is it?
Jethro. Baptist, Baptist. If you come down to the very end where it says Keith Harris and it says Commissioner Banks stated we needed to have a bathroom, we need to have a bathroom, take out the ED. Okay, let's move on to page 3. Charles Rudd stated we're working towards the enterprise funds being self-supported, be self-supporting, ing, not ed. Any other changes?
No.
No, let's move on to September 14th, 2023, commission regular meeting. Yeah.
I do.
Okay,
So under, under presentations, the proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. The line under that, the name Lucia, the last name is Valdivia, Valdivia.
Okay.
And then,
They really, sorry, it should also say Hispanic Latino Heritage Month.
right, take, we don't, in that next line, I have that one also. At the end of the line, after the word Latino, you should take out proclamation and put in Heritage Month, or Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. We got proclamation twice, and we don't need that.
So we need it in there twice?
No,
No.
take out the
I guess
last.
accepted for the historic, just take out the first proclamation. Or you could say, accept this proclamation for Hispanic Latino, and then strike the last proclamation in that sentence.
Heritage Month, and then also, the next paragraph under Yacht Club presentations, mentioned as the name Peter and Kevin. Peter's last name is Ackerman, Ackerman, and Kevin's last name is Jordan, Jordan, the conventional spelling.
And the reason why I had just their first names is because Kevin never said his, Peter doesn't say his last name.
Yeah.
So I didn't wanna just put Kevin Jordan in and then not have Peter's last name.
Little bit of parentheses, if you would, Karen, please, or brackets.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have anything else on that first page? I'm gonna move on to the second.
I do not.
Okay, let's move to the second page. Alice McCoy, agenda about Crescent City becoming a monarch city. Take out butterflies. To put it on the agenda about Crescent City becoming a monarch city.
Actually, Monarch City, USA.
Okay, do that. Okay, do you have anything else on this page too?
Yes, under the sheriff's report, the second line, at the end where it says asked if they, I was talking about residents, could call dispatch to let them know.
Okay, that's
So instead of they, it should say residents. So the residents can call dispatch. And then I just have one more, under public comment, Veronica Glover's comment, where she spoke about, it's in parentheses, SHIP,
Oh, SHIP is in there, yeah.
and it's
Abbreviation.
right, but it should be all caps, that's a state program. And then really, it's SHIP grant funds received by the county. That's what she's concerned about, the county is getting SHIP funds,
If we just,
they're not serving South Putnam.
we don't need to explain
No.
what SHIP is, I mean, she wasn't explaining that, she was just talking about SHIP. If we put it in
Right,
all
but the,
caps, then people know that,
but it goes to the county.
that's what she wasn't speaking about that.
She
She was just
just said
referring to
that.
the program, you're
Oh, all right.
inquiring the.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to page 3.
I have one. So first paragraph where it says under the vote, my name is spelled with, D-E. My husband would be very upset. Okay, and then placing adopt to set, under the resolution on the millage, 2023-10, changes in the second line of paragraph. Okay.
My name is spelled incorrectly too in that same roll call. M-Y, we're gonna get that in, M-Y-E-R-S.
Okay. We all want our names spelled right.
I don't know why it's so important people to have their names spelled correctly, but it seems to be,
Sometimes I don't want my name spelled.
seems to be a sticking point, huh?
Thank you.
If you look at all your names in a row, it's like Burton Banks and they,
You can do that, it's a tongue twister.
A jewelry store.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so under resolution 2023.
Dash which one?
Okay,
Dash 10.
That's
dash 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you go 4 lines down. So it says paragraph send line.
Yeah,
That send is
struck that.
second line.
Yeah.
And then replacing adopt, and instead of, to set, it should be with, and then set should have both sets of parentheses around it.
Yeah.
So it's paragraph, second line, replacing adopt with set.
Yeah, so, parentheses around the dot and
so-
parentheses around set.
Set.
Okay?
Okay, that was it for that page for me.
When you come down to the end where it says vote, the motion passed 3-1, roll call was taken.
It's in twice a week.
Yeah, I don't think we need to put it there with Commissioner Burton dissented because it's, if you look at the roll call. We don't do that anywhere, we don't really, when we do a roll call, we just keep it at that, yeah. And the motion passed, 3, yeah.
Collins
And
taken.
roll calls, yeah, so that, the motion passed 3-1 and Commissioner Burton just take out the sentence.
Right, okay, it's complete, but it's done. Okay, so check out that first sentence.
Anything else on that page before I move on to 4?
No.
Not moving, okay, let's move on to 4. If you start at the beginning, the amended motion failed for lack of a second, So take out add failed for, and take out lack of a second. And then Culver Park, just above that, needs a T,
Oh, wait, what?
first paragraph.
Okay, go back to what you're saying, the amended motion fails for lack of second, so you want to
Fail,
a lack of a second?
for lack of a second.
For lack.
And just above that Culver Park, it needs to have a T.
Yeah.
And then Diane Sykes spoke about Mr. Tatum's property and if it was in the budget to fix the problem. Take out is going, if it was, take going out. You have anything else on this page?
Yes, under selection of canvassing board alternate, the syntax isn't the best, but I would like to make it clear that the change was at Commissioner Banks' request. I mean, we didn't just remove him from the canvassing board, make him the alternate for no reason. That just, he asked.
Commissioner Banks, are you okay with that in there?
Yes.
Okay. And at Commissioner Banks' request,
Do you want to do that before the vote?
Yeah.
Just make-
at Commissioner Banks' request,
Yes.
We'll put that where?
And before the vote, just as after the selection of canvassing board, just a sentence there before. the vote.
Commissioner Banks requested to be removed.
to be placed as an alternate.
Comes the alternate canvassing board.
To become the
Commissioner
alternate.
Banks' request.
Yeah.
Placed as an alternate.
Right, so we don't want it to look like we didn't trust him to be the canvassing board.
Okay, anything else on this page?
We could clarify up there under setting trick or treat time after the word trick or treating, put on Tuesday, October 31st.
Everybody's fine with that, set time, trick or treat time, October 30. Just, you see that where that is, Karen, right? Trick or treat time for October 31st, 2023. Okay, let's move on to page 5. Anything on page 5?
Grant a little
Yes.
note that this actually doesn't have to do with minutes, but that vote that you guys took at the secret ballots is not legal. We can't do that. Anytime you vote for anything, you can't take secret ballots.
What vote did we take?
When you guys were, deciding who to put on the P and Z, I just went to that.
It wasn't a secret ballot.
But it was because I wrote it down and gave it to you. And it
Yeah,
wasn't,
but
and it
it's
wasn't
part of-
announced who voted for whom,
They put their names on it, it wasn't a secret ballot.
but.
Did you announce it?
Did you announce it?
Yes, we announced it that night,
But you
because
didn't announce-
said something that night,
But
they said,
you didn't announce
can't
who
do-
voted for whom, so it's still a secret ballot, and you can't do that. Your votes have to, everyone has to be transparent with the voter, correct, Bobby?
Yeah, I think we did.
They were just
I remember
announced that it
it's
was
2 to
2, not who voted for whom.
But I know we had to put our name, we had to put our names on it.
it's all the
It goes
names
into
on, it's part of
they
the
want.
public record, if anybody wanted to know, they'll.
Okay, so if we go forward, I know they've done that in the past,
Yeah, I'm
but
just saying it's
before
probably
we
not.
came on, I know several times that happened where they would, so thank you for that.
I saw it in the minutes,
Okay, so we're gonna move on to page 6. At the end, Commissioner DeVito. Commissioner DeVito moved to adjourn, and we don't have a time of adjournment. Do you have anything else on that page?
Yes, paragraph about the adjourn paragraph where it says city commission. Where it says legislative meeting, it should really say Putnam County Legislative Delegation Meeting.
So Putnam County Legislative Delegation.
Delegation meeting. Same day as the 10th of Putnam Legislative Meeting, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good with that?
Yes.
Let's move on to September 14th. Commissioner Burton? Commissioner Banks? Commissioner, I've got several too, Commissioner DeVito?
No, there's on page 1, the very last where it says vote. We are missing, I think, the correct amount
Is
on the
that,
third line down for 11 North Lake Street.
it should have been 5,000, not 500.
We sure
We're
about
missing a
that?
0, yeah,
Okay, because there's a comma there.
yeah, it should be 5,000. Wasn't it 5,000, Charles, for the millings, or was it,
That's 4,500.
well, I thought it was 5, so
I think there's a 4.
North, well, that's for the,
Yeah,
It's apartments.
That's for the
apartment.
North Lake is the apartments.
Yes. Yeah,
South
yeah,
Lake is
South Lake is
Three Bananas.
3 Bananas.
It's 4,500 for
so
North.
it's 4,500, okay.
It was somewhere around those. But
Okay, I saw the comma, I knew it wasn't 500. And then, I don't think we voted also when you go, to 101's, wait a minute. 101 Cedar Street must be Jeffrey Baptist, right?
Yeah,
Termite treatment, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 19 Cedar Street,
is Elizabeth,
right, that's Liz Gomez, we didn't say what we're funding it for.
101 Cedar Street, 100% for termite treatment.
yeah.
That needs to have a dollar sign in front of it.
It's already circled.
Okay.
Okay, but then something, okay, we kind of specify what the ARPA funds are used for. But I don't think it's not clear where we're using the CRA funds and where we're using the ARPA funds. Because those were the two that we used, right?
How much was the parking lot? Is that right, 5,000?
The three bananas?
Yeah.
Yeah. 5,000.
Yeah, those last three are all ARPA.
That's all ARPA. And 111 North Summit Street, repair the entire roof at 50%, not to exceed $28,000. Is that correct, Charles? It's 50%?
Yes.
Okay. So roof at 50%.
Wait a minute, so
Don't see 28,000.
Yeah.
That's not right.
No,
No, that is correct, but the entire roof, you wanna add at 50%. Not to exceed.
yeah.
Okay, so this is her motion, so I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this, just to make sure.
Make sure that, because it should have been, because
Because
we,
this is the motion, so like
Okay,
I said,
okay.
this motion is verbatim, so whatever
Okay.
she said is on this paper.
we just need to make notation that we were doing 50% of that roof, the cost of that roof, so.
Right, I mean, if
And it
If
might,
I
we might
didn't
not
say
say it, we
it's
might not
50%,
say it,
but that could go in parentheses, right?
correct.
And then just to be clear, which are the last three? North Main Street,
11 South Lake Street. 11 North Summit Street,
North Summit.
and 107 North Main Street.
Those are all ARPA.
funds.
Okay,
So
so,
that's what it says.
Should, read her, Karen, if you'll just do her motion.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that her motion.
right, I was reading from a slide that was,
You're not percent right, I remember you.
Okay, do we have anything else on that page? I'm moving on to
I was
page
supposed
2.
to see the slide from there.
also the rest I could see. I don't have anything on that.
Okay, let's go to page 2.
I have something that on page 2, the second vote, where, the second line of the second vote says Commissioner DeVito moved to amend the motion to include the membership,
Why are there two votes, you know?
for, I think that's the one messed up, but, for it's,
Should be the amendment passed all, rather than the motion. I think it should be the amendment, because you amended the motion.
And the second motion passed, the amendment passed.
wait, you guys,
Roll call was taken on the amended motion. First of all, that should be combined into one vote, right?
You have two different votes.
We had 2 different votes.
Okay, but there's no resolution of that first vote as far as,
All right, you guys,
That's
which one are
correct.
you looking
we're
at?
looking at the adoption of CRA budget recommendation for approval to the city commission. And so
that's right,
it says vote, Commissioner Burton moved to approve the CRA budget, Commissioner May second the motion, and then vote, Commissioner DeVito moved to amend the motion to include the membership of Florida Trust, Commissioner May seconded the motion. The motion, which said the amendment passed, all ayes, and then roll call was
Taking the
taken on
first motion,
on the amended motion,
on the amendment.
or the motion as amended, actually, I should say. On the motion as amended, and then it passed.
So
So really that,
all you need to do is that motion as amended.
Where do you guys at?
Roll call was taken on motion as amended.
Page 1, page 2?
Page 2.
the top of page 2.
right, so Mayor, are you saying instead of roll call was taken on the first motion,
There should be,
roll call was taken on the amended motion?
for the motion as amended,
On the motion as amended,
Yes.
because there's the original motion, then there was amendment, you passed it, and then you voted on the motion as amended. Yeah,
okay, but what they're saying, we voted on amendment and then we voted on the whole,
Yes.
CRA budget, but I was trying to just, correct, what Florida Trust is the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. That's the whole, name of it. But Karen's looking for where we are, which I think we need to make sure she knows where we are.
It's okay, it's.
We're on page 2, Karen, so we're on page 2.
September 28th?
No,
We're
September
still on
14th.
September 14th. We're on page 2,
September 14th, yes, page 2.
Okay.
second vote. See where it says vote, then vote?
Yeah.
Okay,
And those should be combined. Because it was just one vote. Well, there's 2 votes, but it all goes in the same section.
yeah,
Because it was a motion and an amendment. Yeah. And it's the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. And then he seconded it, and so it should say the amendment passed, all ayes. And then roll call was taken on the motion as amended, instead of on the first motion.
I've got it written in my notes, Karen, so if you need to go through my notes. Okay, let's move on to September 28th. Do we have anything on page 1? Okay, what about page 2?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay, page 3. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait, going back to page 2, under lamppost decorating contest request. Lamppost decorating contest, lamppost decorating contest requested by the downtown partnership. I mean, there's nowhere there that reflects who asked.
Okay, so just add requested by
By the
downtown
downtown partnership.
partnership, okay?
And ideally, if you were really gonna reflect what happened at the meeting, where it says approval of utility billing write-offs, there was an extensive discussion with staff of utility billing, delinquent charges and what could be done about them. I mean, we had a long discussion about that.
Well,
So you want me to
and
look at
no, we're not, this is our new,
I'm just asking.
no, this is the ones that we don't have that in here, so we're gonna go forward.
You can still notate though that
There was a lengthy discussion, that's all you
discussion.
have to put, there's a lengthy discussion, and if somebody wants to view it, it's at City Hall.
I mean, if you read that, it just seems like it was when we're done, it was
Okay,
3 hours.
do we have anything on page 3? If not, let's go on to October 5th, 2023.
Wait, go back. Page 2 on September 28th, where it says discussion of stray dog problems. There was discussion on stray dogs, the commission is seeking updated information, and that should be from the county.
From county animal control. Or county, just from the county, just put from the county. From the county, okay.
Pretty much.
From, yeah. Okay, let's move on to October 5th, 2023. Do we have any changes on this one?
That was,
That was a cancel and we didn't have a quorum, so do we have any changes?
it
If
doesn't
not,
say that I was there, but I was there. I was a commissioner-elect.
No.
I always show up if you guys sworn me in, we could have the workshop.
Yeah, okay, let's move on to October 12th, 2023.
Okay, and actually, this wasn't one of the meetings that we pended. This October 12th, we should be dealing with this on Thursday.
Yeah.
When we
Well, it's
usually.
not advertised, so it'll go into December's, just so you know.
Yeah.
so
We did
I put-
advertise it for today, right?
I advertised
She
it
did
for
advertise it
not
for today. She did advertise it for today.
Not for
Okay.
November.
So, commissioners, are we in agreement since it has been advertised, we're gonna go forward and get it?
Yeah. That's what we've done.
Okay. So, do we have any changes on? Honorable to read on there, read the oath of office to William Maury and swore him in.
Yeah.
Further down, we'll be doing a low cost vaccine shot clinic.
Low cost vaccine shot.
There's a couple of comments up in the very top of that, Karen, just to kind of for separation purposes, but do you have anything else on page 1?
Hold on, we need to take a slide for her, because I can't read and do this at the same time. Hold
Just throw it in there. Thank you.
Someone,
That's good, thank you.
okay,
Sorry.
that's okay, let's talk that way.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, I'm back in business.
We're gonna go to page 2. Sheriff's report, Captain Esri gave his sheriff's report. Kate spoke about. Now, do we have any other changes on page 2? Roll call was taken, Commissioner Burton, Commissioner Banks. I think there was something in there with Commissioner Banks, I've written all over it. And his J should be on, no, the resolution waste, okay, then you got it already. Anything else on that page 2? Not, we'll move on to page 3. Commissioner Lori's name on request for street closure for the Veterans Day Parade. Spelling needs an I in there.
I was with, I thought this tree closure for the right, I'm like, no, it's spelled right, both of those.
Wait a minute, which one?
The Veterans Day Parade,
For Veterans Day
it
Parade.
says Commissioner
Okay.
Laura,
Laura,
that's what we'll start calling Commissioner Laura.
Commissioner Laura. That's right off the tongue.
If you go down further, consideration of request for sponsorship, Commissioner Burton made a motion to remove it from the agenda.
Where's that?
See where it says vote, it says Commissioner Lori, and then further down, vote, Commissioner Burton made a motion to remove it from the agenda, Commissioner Lori seconded the motion passed all ayes. Second, do you see that?
Yes, there we go.
Swine line?
Yeah. Okay, we removed that from the agenda.
Okay. Further down, Commissioner Banks moved to approve payment, not pay, to approve pay, should be payment. The finding of the litigation that arose.
Yeah.
That's the second line down, litigation that arose out of or in connection with performance.
No D?
No, it's just AROSE. AROSE.
Do you have any other changes on that? We'll move to page 4.
Yeah, second recall reimbursement should be bolded.
Yes, and it should say, the request for reimbursement of Commissioner Burton's second recall, or however he did it. Request for reimbursement of legal fees for Commissioner Burton's second recall.
To make it match the. You got that, Karen? Karen? You following?
And then vote, Commissioner Moore moved to approve payment again. So, body was very specific, I think.
And the rows again, the rows, because you told me she cut and pasted it, so.
Yeah.
Which is good because it would be the same, which.
And the same thing down on Myers, when you go to Myers, Commissioner DeVito moved to approve payment.
Well, that one would say the rows.
Yeah, that one did.
Just use that.
Okay, do we have anything else on this? I have down on Walnut Street where she says for a total of $444.68 to be paid 60 days from the date of this ruling, take out the by. And then it goes on there, and if the lien, I would take and out and put if the lien is not paid within 60 days, it will revert. Everyone okay with that?
It's a motion, so if I said it, I guess that's.
Yeah,
just the
however she
way.
said it, if that's how she said it, then okay, then leave it that way, that's true. Okay. Any other changes on that? Any other changes on page 5, we're on page 5. Down here, it says vote, Commissioner DeVito moved to extend the meeting to 10:10, Commissioner Burton seconded. It said seconded. I crossed something out there, I guess it was seconded. the motion passed.
10 PM. I mean, it's obvious, but it's still.
Okay? I think that's it. Is that it? Okay, commissioners, we currently have a motion for approval. Did she do it with changes?
She has to adjust.
Yeah, if you want to do that,
Okay, so your motion is with changes,
with changes.
and Commissioner Banks, your second. Okay, and we have gone through these changes. I'm gonna go ahead and we're going to, if there's no further discussion, we're gonna take it to a vote. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, minutes are passed. Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you,
We
Karen.
appreciate that.
Moving forward, are we still gonna be writing books or?
No, those last two, did you see how those flowed?
Yeah,
They were easy to get through. I truly, we've got so much that we have to get through that to spend all that time on the minutes, and I wanna spend that more on the substance of the meeting that we're going through, so. Okay. If everyone is in agreement, okay? So I'm going to, I guess I need to close out this meeting. I'm gonna close out this special meeting on minutes. I need a motion to adjourn, give me a.
I move we adjourn the
Okay.
special meeting.
second.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break, you need a break? Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess,
This next one says special meeting, it's actually a workshop.
it should be a workshop,
Oh,
that's
see?
why,
I was gonna say, I don't know what we're voting on here,
yeah.
but this
Okay, Karen, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and we are gonna open up this workshop, November 6th, 2023. We've already
We've already done that, yeah.
We've already done everything, so let's get started. I'm gonna open it up for public comments. If anybody has any public comments, please come forward. Seeing no one in the audience, except for, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say no one, but none of our public in the audience. We have a speaker. I'm gonna close public comments at this time. Charles, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Thank you. Invited Jason Sheppel to come in as our engineer, working on our water main project for Prospect Street and for North and South Main. And questions that come up about, is the water main gonna go under the trees or in the road? So he's brought the slides to show that, then step through it with you. This is the workshop, so we won't vote, but we do want to get a consensus. If you're okay with the design as it is, or maybe a block or more may need to be adjusted. He's gonna talk about what that means to the budget, if we move it one way or the other. I'll turn it over to Jason.
Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Charles, Mayor, Commissioners, again, Jason Sheppard with Midtown Associates. Is it possible if I sit there with you?
Absolutely.
Because there's some things with my eyesight's going, I'm trying to make it as crisp as possible on the slides. I'm probably about to zoom in so you can read some of what's on the slides. But I'm just going to briefly go through some topics, and then we can look at the drawings or whatever the city council desire, just to kind of talk through the considerations when we're trying to arrive at where the water main may go in the corridor. And the city, Crescent City, is no different than a lot of cities. It's getting more and more difficult to find a spot with regard to either existing utilities, trees, vegetation, and then trying to get a good maintenance corridor for what the city will have to deal with, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So I'm just going to walk through that a little bit. So the agenda, again, we kind of work through introductions, but talk through the project scope, our work areas, a general corridor meaning, the right-of-way corridor, some general guidance, and then the open discussion. I have each set of our current drawings. Again, these aren't considered to be final. They're intended to get illicit input from the city. And so with the conversation today, we'll be in a position to, I think, finalize this package and get it prepared for public advertisement and bidding. And some of that will, the tripwire for that will be the city receiving all the final funding agreements so we can go forward when you guys have those. I think there's 2 appropriations that the city's acquired, and then there's the Water Management District cost share, and then there's the Community Development Block Grant. And more than likely, the Community Development Block Grant will be the last. They just tend to take a while to work through the process.
Commissioner Boyd, you're familiar with Jason Sheppard?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I apologize.
So that, what the city has acquired from a funding, as we talked about those different funding pots that you guys have really done well to obtain. The focus area, so the Community Development Block Grant, the way it was scoped and awarded is generally north of Central on North Main Street, going back towards County Road 308. The appropriations address Prospect Street, which includes a portion of Florida Avenue, and Prospect more or less, I think from Orange is where we tie in on the southern limits all the way up to Lakeview or Lake Street up on the north. And then with that is completing Main Street from where it was left off through a previous grant funding award the city obtained through the EPA, picking up where that project left off and then continuing that to Central where the connections would be made to the CDBG project. So the intent is to construct a new, if you will, water mains. Obviously the intent is that is being completed while the existing system is online. So that's some of the difficulty on water main construction is that there will be several locations where we need to connect the new into the existing, and then we have to be able to isolate the existing to make that connection. So that will often require either tapping sleeves and valves, inserter valves, line stops. Those sorts of mechanisms will be utilized to make that connection. And in some cases, what gets really difficult and what may be a reality for us as we get into construction is the smaller, once you get to 2 inches and smaller with the galvanized piping, it will be at pressure, but unless we have different valving to isolate that, it can be difficult to get that off of the existing system because oftentimes, in true for a lot of cities in Florida that we dealt with, there just isn't great records as to where that connection was made. And so it can become literally the needle in the haystack trying to find where that connection is. So oftentimes we may have to shut off a block or two. So there may be at some point in time, like a boil water notice to make that effort
Is this
happen.
thing going to be cleaning up on Lake Stella?
Like, so
I
no,
got one of those 2-inch pipes.
do you, okay, yeah.
Oh, man, those 2 inch are gonna become 8 inches, is that right?
Correct, yeah. So within the project corridor, through the limits that we've discussed at this point in time, it's all 8-inch water mains is what we're proposing to put in. At all intersections, we're either connecting back to existing or we're dropping a larger diameter connection, 6-inch minimum. And then there's details within the drawings, but basically there'll be like a service connection to a home that will be poly pipe that will go. And if that block has an older pipeline, that will be our mechanism to connect into that. But there will be a new 6-inch valve that will be your future connection point as the city continues to build from this new infrastructure. And so those will be connections where you'll enhance your gridding. So with the water system, from a fire suppression standpoint, you'll hear the term loop. So you want loop systems as much as possible, reduces the head loss on a unidirectional system, which is some of what the city struggles with out to the high school, because that's a long line. And you just lose a lot of hydraulic loss due to the friction loss in the pipe. So the looping helps resolve that and will allow the city. I know there's been developments coming in here recently that have been looking for higher fire flow conditions. So this will begin to move you in a direction to address some of those needs. Obviously, we continue to be frankly shocked at bid pricing when we open up bids. We just had a very simplistic project that in relative terms, it was an 8-inch water main project we did down south that was all in grassed areas. And that project came in at, this is a total project, $240 per linear foot. We used to estimate that would be in the hundreds. So we're roughly seeing almost 2x on distribution pipeline projects. We won't know until we bid it. Obviously, PVC has some influence through oil pricing. So depending where that is, that can affect it. But generally, we just have seen escalation in the market in infrastructure projects. So once we get the bids, we can have a conversation as to if we need to take a block out or something like that. We can work with Charles and the city to get final limits. Obviously, the intent is to build the whole thing. That's certainly what we're hoping to do.
Because all of it's gonna be the 8-inch PVC.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You said Main Street, that they stopped on Main Street. How long ago was that was?
That was, I want to say it was like 2009, 2010
They
timeframe.
never picked that back up again, nobody.
It was connected back to the existing, but there was a stub for a future connection. And so we'll be connecting to that as part of this project.
And that was Main Street where?
That was at Orange, yes. So this, and if I'm covering ground you guys are fully aware of, I apologize. I just wanted to do a quick capture of just typical water service and some of the nuances that we deal with during construction. So obviously this is your main line. So for our purposes, this is the 8-inch water main. And then you have isolation valves that we do usually 500 feet or less, but generally at intersections along the street. And then if you have a longer pipeline, you'll drop them maybe 750 or 1,000 feet. But this allows, if you have a break, you don't have to take the whole system out. You can isolate between the valves. And then the fire hydrant will have a valve isolating the fire hydrant, which will be true of what we're proposing. The main thing I wanted to highlight is, so this is your connection for a service. You'll have a corp stop at this service saddle. Then you typically have polyline. So this saddle is nice when this main line is in a grassed area. It just makes it easier to get to. It's less expensive if you have a new service tap you have to do, or if for some reason something leaks over time to get to that. So generally in water mains, you generally want to be in the grass, but so does everybody else. And so that you sometimes run out of room, and sometimes this has to be in the road or under a sidewalk. But generally we try to get in grassed areas. So the maintenance of this assembly is a little bit easier, notwithstanding you got to go across the road one way or the other. But generally this is your service connection and drives somewhat where this water main wants to be, in addition to separation from other utilities, in particular wastewater utilities that drive the separation. So these are actually pictures from previous Crescent City projects. So this is, an open trench limit. So this would be, a backhoe is digging this out, and then they prepare the bedding for the PVC pipeline. And then you can see this is tracer wire that goes on the pipes to help locate the pipe in the future. And then this is a service saddle, which this is a zoomed in of that service saddle. And then this is that valve to isolate at the main. There's also an isolation at the meter at the right of way. But this is generally an open cut. So you can see obviously the disruption to the corridor, this dirt that came out of the trench. Once they get this set, they'll come back and compact this and bring it back up to grade. And then if it's, in a grassed area, obviously then it's grassed, restored with sod. The other main mechanism we use to construct water mains, if this either we have obstructions, or if it's a mainline pipe that doesn't have a lot of service connections, or if there's an obstacle that we need to traverse, is what they call horizontal directional drilling, or trenchless. And so in this method, you would see this piece of equipment, which is the drill rig. On the drill rig, there are rods. Those rods get put together, and then there's a mechanism on the front of the rod that drives those under the ground. And then different systems have different steering mechanisms, but generally you see somebody walking on the road with this piece of equipment that tells the guy that's right over the head of that drilling rod system how deep it is and where it's moving. And so you can kind of tell back to the rig operator, we're getting a little off course, correct this way, correct that way, but that will guide it, through the limits of what they're proposing. And then oftentimes you'll see like spray paint on the road, what depths they want to be at different locations, or if they have a crossing, to make sure that they're hitting those marks as they install it.
That's how we're gonna do, we're gonna go under all the cross streets, most of them.
Well, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So some of the difficulty with that is that oftentimes those cross streets where we need to make a connection. So we can certainly still drill it, but then we have to come back and at least make a connection at somewhere on the pipe to do it. So it can still limit the disruption, but likely all the intersections you still have to open up somewhere to make a connection.
There, yeah. So when you're talking about needing to make a connection under the cross street, so are you saying that you will have to dig up the pavement on the cross street?
Either the pavement or some area within the intersection, whether it's, back a curb, pavement, somewhere in that area, to basically install so this pipe would be cut with a T to be able to make a connection to those intersecting pipes. And that's building your loop. So that's making those connections. So this drill rig would eventually come out on the other side. It would take off the drill head and then basically put like a hook, if you will, for lack of a better term, and then it connects right there and then pulls this pipe back. So other logistics associated with directional drilling is that the contractor will have to fuse this pipe. This pipe is high density polyethylene, or HDPE. There's also fusible PVC. For this application, we would recommend fusible PVC because it's the same material as an open cut pipe, and it allows for all standard saddles, standard connections, whereas HDPE, given the nature of that material, is more prone to movement because of temperatures or changes in pressure, which then the service saddle has to have some give in it. And so it can lead to leaky service connections. They've come a long way with those materials, but generally we propose fusible PVC and potable. Just makes it easier on the utility, especially if, the city has to come back on top of the pipe in the future. It's just more typical materials. But this, they would grab hold of that and then pull this back through that drilled profile of what was completed, and then this portion would eventually end up back at the drill rig. They would take that component off, and then they would make a connection from this end of the pipe and the other end of the pipe to open trench limits typically. So that's the other method, main method, really the only two methods. The other method, I guess, is pipe bursting, which isn't, this project isn't a candidate for that. This would be pipe bursting. That's where you actually are able to isolate legs and you connect to the pipe and actually bring a bursting head through the existing pipe and blow it apart and pull new pipe behind it.
That sounds so much cooler.
Yeah, yes. Those you have to have really good isolation in the existing system to be able to make that happen. So we'll zoom into some of this, but this is the general limits. So this is the CDBG project on Main Street. Yes, this is the CDBG limits of work. So generally to the south of Central Avenue, along Main Street up to County Road 308. This
North.
north. Yes, I'm sorry. I always want to think north is straight up, but I apologize. This portion, we're trying to bring this loop back on 17. From a CDBG perspective, if budget does come to concern, we can make a connection here and meet the grant funding. This just provides hydraulic benefit and moves the city further down the field to really get all these streets connected. So our desire is to make this connection. If we run into a funding pinch, this might be an area we can review and see.
And that's the program Vernon.
I'm sorry, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, there's one there already that we just.
And there's some, in talking to Keith, as far as, records and what the city may or may not be here, it may just be a 2-inch through this run. I believe this 6-inch ends here. There is a fire hydrant at this corner. And then, whether the extent of that is unclear. So this would clean up all that and get everything connected back around. And then I know, this is where the recent pump station was built, and this may be another corridor the city could take advantage of in the future to extend water main down here. So that's a connection for that purpose.
Right now, the water that would be for those houses goes down Oakwood.
Yeah.
Those lines
Yes, I believe so.
I think it's on the west side of Oakland.
on the west side, because that's where the homes, that's where the existing homes are. So it would make sense eventually to put it down there where the.
We could, it would give you, whether, you need another artery, obviously this corridor is pretty clean and open, so you could do something of a larger diameter down that way. And this is where, at these intersections where we're trying to make connections to either 6-inch, or these unknowns are likely these smaller diameter lines that have, through the years as a home needed service, were extended over time. So we're dropping larger diameter valves here with the hope in the future a 6-inch line at a minimum could be brought back to here, but we're going to make the connection back to this so we don't cut service to any of these homes in this area. So that is Main Street.
That's where it switches sides. You're gonna be on the east side up to that point.
Yeah, we'll go through this. This is a general depiction of the limits, but it doesn't, due to the scale of the drawing, doesn't necessarily show the winding. This is Prospect, obviously a much larger scope. So we're beginning down on Orange. This was as part of that same project on Main Street. This is where the 8-inch water main was terminated and made connections to the existing. So we'll be connecting to that existing valve and then heading north on Prospect. And that will go all the way to Palm, yes. Yeah, I was thinking Lakeview, but to Palm.
Is south of that orange, is that?
That's all 8-inch now.
8-inch now.
Yes. That was done through that project. That actually, benefited the city quite a bit because that brought a good southern loop to the city that wasn't there previously.
Oh, good, Mayor, if I could, when was that done, on, south of Orange Avenue?
I'll get you the specific dates. Our project, it was 2009 when some of that work was done. So as far as the construction, it was either 2010, 2011, sometime in that time frame. That program had a lot of hurdles, so it may have been 2012, but somewhere in that general area.
Yeah, I was wondering when I can get further, I more now, but that prospect that's already done. Sounds.
And then this is to basically the gap between the CDBG on Main. So this picks up south of Central and then goes to Orange. Is it Orange? And that's where, again, the existing connection was left there, and then we'll be extending from that. And then obviously we'll be setting new fire hydrants at intersections and then providing more valving for future isolation. And then obviously this doesn't depict, but there's services to these various parcels along the route.
Okay, Mayor, I have a question. So, just for clarification, you said part of this project funding includes new fire hydrants?
As part of just the general water main work, it'll be the pipeline and the fire hydrants, valves, services, all those components.
Okay, so for the city manager and maybe the fire chief back there, are these fire hydrants that are in need of repair now that we're gonna repair?
No,
No.
Charles asked me to give him a list of what was included in the project. I think there was only 2 or 3 hydrants that would be included in both projects between Main and Prospect, out of the ones that need repair to replace.
These will be mostly brand new fire hydrants for the city.
But
It's not the additional.
Yeah.
The project, the ones we brought to you previously, that you're talking about,
yes,
out of that group of hydrants, there were only 3 that would be included in this project. And so I already removed those out of what we brought to you guys.
okay. So we have more than 2 or 3 hydrants, but there were just 2 or 3 that were in the repair.
That
They're in
would
the
be,
project
that would be
area.
included, yes, ma'am.
That are in the project area.
And when you put in the new fire hydrants, most of the time they're gonna be like on the opposite corner of the old one is, right?
Generally at every
You
intersection.
have to have the old ones still in use until the new ones are ready to go.
That's correct.
That's the thing that's kind of like,
That's
you gotta double up on everything. when you
right.
switch
That's
over.
right. That's right. Correct.
And,
Yeah. So the new system has to be built, pressure tested, and then bacteriological clearance. Then we get state approval, and then they can make the connections.
But mostly there are no fire hydrants.
There's not very,
Yeah.
right, there's definitely a lack of hydrants.
This will definitely, this will help us tremendously. Okay, let's
And every one of us is under commercial maintenance, it's kind of effect.
So, I mean, as I think you all are aware, these are just some pictures either on Prospect or Main. So generally, as you all are aware, there's some big trees, there's power poles, and what you can't see from this picture is that there's existing water main, there's existing fiber optic, there's existing sewer. On some portions of Prospect, there's a force main, there's gas. So there's a lot of different things we have to navigate one, to just physically construct the improvements, and then 2, to meet the state requirements with regard to vertical and horizontal separation from the utilities. So we've gone through, somewhat that exercise. In some locations, at least at this point in time, we think we will have to be in the pavement. Our desire was not to be in the pavement. In some locations, we believe, just based on what's in the ground, that it's going to be difficult to navigate. So we've shown that there. And then some of the considerations for the city on that is restoration. And so that's a cost. We'll be a relatively narrow trench in the pavement, but then do you just patch that and then you've got kind of this skunk line of new pavement through the road? You can mill and overlay, but then you're mill and overlaying the whole street. So anyways, it starts to add up. But regardless, we do have some circumstances where that would be the case. The other opportunity where we think we can stay either in the grass or under a sidewalk is that we can directional drill portions of those, and then we only have to disrupt where we need to make a service connection. So there's some of that within the drawings as they exist right now. And then with trees, so those, you can work around them. Obviously, there's concerns about that with regard to the root zone, or you can drill underneath them. And I got some guidance with regard to that, and certainly we'll hear some of the input from you all, and we can come to a kind of a consensus as to how we should deal with that from a design perspective, so we can set up the contract drawings for the contractor so he knows what he needs to accomplish at those locations. But that's generally what we're up against in all the corridors. It's all the same everywhere. Prospect's a little more difficult south of Central because of some of the wastewater infrastructure that's within that right of way that really clogs up everything.
Is everything from the old sewer plant goes
Right.
up to the new sewer plant?
That's correct.
Mayor, I got a question. So you just said, you can go in the grass or under the sidewalk, I guess, with the directional drilling, and you only have to, quote, disrupt where you make a connection. Disrupt what?
Sidewalk.
The surface.
So wherever there's like a home that we need to reserve, so they will have, so like if it's feasible PVC, they'll install that pipe, trenchless. So there'll be a drill pit where the drill rig is, and then there'll be a pit where that pipe has to be connected to pull through. So those will be open excavations to make that happen. And then they'll pull that pipe in. Once that pipe is set, and then and they may do some of the service connections after clearance. It depends on how we arrange it. But at some point in time, they're going to have to get on top of that pipe, which means they'll have to, if it's under a sidewalk, they'd have to add a joint.
By disrupt, you mean dig?
Dig, yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
That's-
Yeah,
To me, dig is dig,
Yes.
okay,
yep, dig.
thank you.
So this, I just grabbed, you guys through Google searching can kind of come up with some of these same findings. This is from FP&L. Obviously, they run into this circumstance a lot with electrical services to existing lots. This was just in their little pamphlet talking about using directional drill to save existing trees. And this was just a quote from University of Florida Urban Trees and Landscape Plants, Department of Environmental Horticulture. Generally, they're wanting to remain within 3 feet of the soil below the surface. You'll see, we'll go through some other guidance, 3 to 4 feet below ground or deeper. That seems to be the general guidance from the Arbor Foundation and some other guidelines that I could find. So that was from FP&L. This was from the Urban Tree Foundation. This is the detail that they developed for directional drilling. If we would decide that we'd want to go under the tree. So this would be the pipeline that would be directional drilled, and they're providing guidance of at least 4 feet below grade at those tree locations. And then this was from the University of Purdue. They had a whole slideshow with regard to protecting trees during municipal construction. So this was from their presentation back of March 2011. And again, it's similar depending on the diameter breast height. So basically how big the tree is at about 4 foot above ground. So a 12-inch diameter tree, they're saying you could be 24 inches minimum. Greater than 12 inches, they're recommending, again, the kind of 3 foot metric.
And that's what we have,
That's
really big trees.
yes.
Very, very
Yes.
old, very
Yes.
large, and the drip line extends very far.
Right.
So with the minimum of 3 feet, I guess from a safety, just to err on the side of caution, I guess, are you gonna look at 4 feet?
Yes, I was 4 feet or even maybe 5, I think, because at these locations, obviously the tree, the pipeline is fused, so it doesn't have a joint in the pipe. It's a full conduit, and it'll all be pressure tested at 150 PSI, which is twice the surface pressure. So obviously we're going to know if we have an issue, but as far as, unlike a sewer collection pipe or something that's built open trench where you do have a gasketed connection, there is the opportunity for a root to kind of come find its way to that pipe.
Which is what happened in the town hall there.
So what is the cost between trenching and boring?
Yeah, so,
Because it seems like boring would be very expensive.
correct, it is more, that's for sure.
And then the other question I have is, I want to save the heritage oaks, along the walkways and everything. However, Crescent City is plagued with what I call nuisance trees. And wouldn't this be a good time to, get rid of some of those nuisance trees that, you know, are along the path that really, should go?
Mhm.
I don't know if any of this stuff has been talked about, but
Well, I certainly will welcome direction with regard to nuisance trees, because, in my career, that's been the eye of the beholder.
well, but it really kind of isn't, and the other thing too is, you know, it gives Crescent City kind of an opportunity to get rid of some of these huge nuisance trees that really, that's what they are. And, but the other thing too is I think all the, live oaks are, I think that they should be assessed at this point. We have a lot of old oaks, should be assessed and see if some of that can't be cleared at the same time. That's just my opinion. But the cost, I don't know what the cost is to even take down a tree versus the board. But I think the boring at, what, 240
Mhm.
meters per foot?
Yeah, that,
$240
that,
per million foot.
Linear
Wait,
foot.
I'm sorry, y'all are.
Okay, hold on, okay, one at a time. I'm gonna ask everybody one at a time, so.
So I, you know, I'd like to see what that cost is to bore, what that cost is to cut down a tree, what that cost is to trench. And then, I mean, do you have a plan in place on where you're gonna be doing all this stuff? Where you're gonna, which trees you're gonna bore under and which tree you're gonna trench and?
yeah, we had taken that to a point, and then I knew that we were gonna have this conversation, so we hadn't progressed. I mean, the drawings, we can quickly address direction from the city with regard to these.
Yeah, because I mean, I can show you, you know, different trees that have really damaged the road.
Mhm.
They've damaged, a lot of different areas. I mean, I love the trees, but a lot of the bigger trees, and whether it be, especially, I mean, you can save a live oak, that's one thing. But the nuisance trees that are ruining some and damaging some of our roads and stuff, we don't need them. We just really don't need them. Because it creates a different kind of problem.
Right.
I think.
Okay, Commissioner Lawrence, that's next.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Commissioner Burton can point out what a nuisance tree is and where you're speaking of. Because as was mentioned, you know, it's kind of an added holder. If it's in front of my house, I might not think it's a nuisance tree.
If it's, well, I have one in front of my house now that's ruining my,
Exactly.
yeah, camper tree.
I just wanted some sort of,
Okay, I'm sorry.
what a nuisance tree was.
So there's a list of them, you can go online.
No, I understand, but we did the LDCs.
Okay, so come by my house, camper tree ruining my driveway and it's lifting up the road and everything on the road.
It's in the city, right?
Yes, it is. I have another one over on Florida Avenue that's actually growing out into the road. It's a beautiful tree though, and that one would need to be assessed as to how we can manage that particular tree. It's big, and it creates a lot of shade and all that. That's what I mean. I think there should be some type of, you know,
So the one in front of your house we can cut down.
I think that was, you know what, I think it's grown so well. I think there's a leak in the water line right there. It goes right over my water line. So that's my assessment of the thing.
Right, just
It could have burst through it or something. Commissioner DeVito.
Sure, so about, and just for clarification, Commissioner Burton, you mentioned the first tree you were talking about was a camphor tree.
Yes.
That's disrupting your driveway. And then you said there's a second tree on Florida Avenue.
Yes.
But is that a camphor tree or a live oak?
I believe that one is a live oak, and that's why we want to assess that and see what's going on there and see if
Right,
there's.
but, so you're suggesting that if a tree is older and it's a live oak, we should just take it out?
I think if the tree is
Okay,
dying
this is
and
not,
dead
this is
or
not.
whatever, they
We
should
need
be
to
taken out, yes.
Okay, but we're not gonna get into everybody's opinion on trees at this time. I would like to finish.
If I could, Commissioner Burton has made the statement that camphor trees are nuisance trees, and I would like to share a different perspective.
Okay, share your perspective and then I'm gonna carry forward with this. So,
Yes.
please share your perspective.
Camphor trees are some of the strongest trees that we have in the city. They provide a lot of shade. And if you will notice, I don't think we've ever had a camphor tree come down in a storm. Some of our streets would have no shade on some blocks at all if we took out the camphor trees.
I'm saying we're,
Okay, I'm not finished, hold on.
I'm not here for a lecture on trees.
You had your opinion, and I am sharing my information, and I would like to finish, thank you. So at the tree board discussions back in 2019, it was actually suggested by one of our master gardeners, former master gardeners, that camphor trees over a certain size be exempted from the classification of nuisance trees because of the other benefits they provide. So we've had somewhat of a discussion about this at the city level.
Okay, so we have two differences of opinion about possibly amongst our commissioners, so if you would just continue, please.
With regard to cost, again, it's somewhat of a market condition, but generally, yes, the directional drill is more, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times the open cut cost. Now, some of what we're running into within the corridor is that, like the open spot, which isn't pavement, it's sidewalk. So we would still want to drill that rather than ripping up the sidewalk in total, and doing open cut. So we're still seeing the need for directional drill deployed as a use within the project. And then all these projects are bid unit price, so we'll see all the prices. And we can even, as we get that information, if we want to make a modification or tweak, then we can go that route if we want to do more drilling or less. Notwithstanding hard and fast saying, this tree we're going to drill under, or we're definitely in this intersection going to, get by this, notwithstanding a connection we may have to make, on the intersecting street. So we have one contractor that really would be well suited to do this work. His preference is to drill everything, and he'll bid it at an open cut price just because he has all the equipment and can do that work. Now, he's a single entity that can do that. But we're certainly going to be talking to him about this project because it would be really, he's done really good work for us on these difficult type corridors and similar areas of the state. So that's some of where we're heading, and general guidance on the cost. And obviously the pavement just adds to that.
Right.
So, yeah.
And
Charles,
actually, I had a comment to make about the sidewalks.
I'm gonna ask Charles a question first.
So,
Charles, before we go forward with any of this, there will be an opportunity for public comment, correct?
We can bring our plans back for a public.
I think that because there is a differences of opinion with the trees, that if for some reason we do see that, I don't want the general public to think we're gonna come in there and they might have a tree that they cut, that we're going to do something to that tree.
Right now, we don't plan to remove any trees as part of this.
Right,
I just want to make sure that through clarification that, they would have an opportunity that.
And then when we get the final drawings, we have a workshop, right? Just to inform everybody, because this is gonna be very disruptive to people's lives for a while. And I think we definitely need to have the information out there. Like DOT does their workshops, they have a big blow up, so that everyone can see where their house is and see where it's gonna go. Because that's why I have the plans we was looking at, and wanted to know, where is this gonna go? Is it thankfully not gonna have any happening, but.
And it might be painful for a moment, but it's gonna be worth it in the long run. So Commissioner DeVito, you have a comment about sidewalks.
sure, so the interesting part is the sidewalks on South Prospect. Those, we just put those in, they're federally funded sidewalks. And then I actually have a question.
Not all the way, some of them they just repaired them. So they didn't sidewalk, it was whether or not it had to be repaired or what had to be patched, some of them were patched.
So I'm saying that whole network, we are now responsible for maintaining that. City signed an agreement everywhere that's designated as trail. If it's damaged, we have to put it back, or they can do so and charge us. So one question I have is, my house is a masonry house, the house on my block are a masonry house, we're on South Main Street. Are we in danger of damage to our homes from vibration?
not the church, like there was a pipe bursting, and then you could see some reflective, waves, if you will, through the soil, but not directional drilling, no.
Because the reason I asked, I used to live in Tampa in a very old neighborhood where it was very congested, and 2 people lost their homes to a pipe redo project because of vibrations. The city, it took a long time, but the city had to buy their houses.
Again, you're saying that should not be of concern to anybody.
No, unless,
Okay,
I don't
I
know.
just I don't want any alarm to go
And
off.
I just wanted to say one thing about sidewalks. Sidewalks, because I guess we're at some time, we're gonna put a law in place that residents have to maintain their own sidewalks. I'm not saying this is good or bad, but a lot of people just let their sidewalks overgrow and become part of the lawn. So be careful when you're out there.
We do have that, especially on on Prospect. There are some areas that have that. Karen, matter of fact, over here, just unearthed all that sidewalk that looks so nice in front of our chiropractor. You know, a lot of people didn't even realize we had, Karen and Kevin did that, but we had sidewalks, so yeah.
Well, we're gonna look at both sides of it, correct me?
Yeah.
The amount when you're doing the toll, or when you come back with the last blueprint.
I think what would probably be most beneficial to me is just guidance on the trees. Because, I mean, we've, done outside of drilling all the trees, which we don't show currently. If there's concern with regard to specific tree, or if there's a tree that is not a concern that may need to be dealt with, if somehow that could be narrowed down, then we could finalize, our assessment of the design approach. We can give you an engineer's estimate, but the problem with that is, we don't build it. And so we can give you kind of what we're seeing in the market and, can give you definitely, well, I think even with knowing the trees, I think in a lot of cases, we're really running out of places to put the pipeline. So I don't think we have, a vast amount of options to do it. But the main thing I think is with regard to dealing with the trees, like, do we need to really look at drilling all the trees, even if, like, I know there's a couple that are at intersections that are relatively large. So how we navigate that and then still make our connections. So we can always drill under the tree, get past the tree, even if it's 50 feet down the block, and then come back and try to make a connection. But working out those connections, I think, in my mind at this moment, outside of just the whole topic of trees, is would be beneficial as far as.
Can you step us through and see how many times this is actually an issue? So I know there's some runs where you're in the road the whole block.
And we have to rely on you. I mean, this is not something we can micromanage either, because we have to rely on your expertise to tell us what's the best, what's the best options.
Right. So this is Main Street. This is the CDBG project. So this, you can see my cursor. This is Central. So we are, obviously Central was just recently redone. So we're going to directional drill under Central to maintain what's been done there. But obviously this is another area where we've got to, this is the connection for the future work on the other project. And then this is making the connection to the existing, this is a valve to be able to isolate some of that. But the dashed line is generally the directional drill limits. And again, now this was showing, and this would be some direction from the city, where these crosshatched areas are where we have to dig to make those service connections to houses. And then there are some locations on parcels that may or may not be vacant. If we're in the road, if we want to go ahead and make that service connection, so you don't have to come back and do it in a future date. And we'll have pricing for all that, when we do get the bids, that we can have, a real hard number to make any final decisions.
That's boring under the road for that whole block.
So this is boring, and then this darker hatching, our preference would be at the end of the project that in lieu of having these dotted areas where they're repaired, there's a pavement repair, that, this would be milled and overlaid through this limits. And so again, we'll have those costs as a unit cost. Obviously it'd be great to do both sides of the road. Again, it all adds up. So this at least takes care of the area that would be done with services, but this would largely be directional drilled. And again, where you see this, big opening area, this is where we are trying to make those connections or leave connections for either the future or to come back to the smaller diameter piping. on Florida. So this more or less is kind of a typical arrangement where we'll pick a side of the road. Sometimes we do have to jump mid-block, but generally we're on, one area and then we have to drop all these connections. So that more or less is the approach. And then you can see some of the large trees over in this area. Again, we're directional drilling through here, and then we have storm pipe and other items that we have to navigate with the gas, fiber optic, existing
Yeah.
water.
The hatch is the abandoned line, that's the.
Yes, so this would be the existing pipeline that would be taken out of service at the end of the project, correct?
So that's gonna go right down the road,
Yes, yes,
For
ma'am.
that lot.
and we're gonna build these roads when we're done with them?
That would be, certainly what we would want to do, propose, to do that, at least as this is shown, it's one lane. It'd be great to do both lanes, it adds up costs. So
Challenge is, we get bid out, we don't have enough money.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we'll look at, maybe we don't, maybe we just have patches as a,
For now, until.
The connections that are gonna go under to the other side, like to the west side.
yes, yeah, as much as we,
How do you put those in? Is
So-
that,
yeah, those would be open trench, those intersections.
well, the mid-block stuff, if it's going, a water connection is going west, so it's going underneath the road that we're not digging up, how is that done? Because the service connections.
Like the service connections, yeah. They actually, what they bore those as well.
Just-
Yes, yeah.
Just smaller.
Mhm.
I can go to the next one.
So yeah, this way it's not disturbing any trees.
Right, yeah, there's some here,
This block.
Wait, somebody where?
right here.
It's outside the area, it's not.
And we're
The
drilling,
main Pipeline.
Wait. Are you telling us we are disturbing the tree that's depicted there?
no, I was just telling you that that's an existing location, existing tree. This symbology that's kind of clouded, and then
Yeah.
the circle kind of indicates where the trunk is. So I was just indicating this is a tree location, but we're directional drilling, through these limits.
Okay, because the thing I'm most interested in is there a place where you are having a problem navigating around the tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to the next block.
So, at this match line, so we're coming out of, we were just at Florida.
Are you going north or south?
We're going north, so going north, on Main from Florida. So again, here's a tree, again, directional drilling, this portion, coming up.
Now, are any of the service connections, I mean, when you have a service connection, when there's a tree there, just move farther down the line, or?
We could look at zigzagging this, again, these will be drilled, so this, similar to FPL pamphlets, a similar condition that they have, right? But at some point, we gotta exit to
Right, yeah.
make.
That's what's funny, like, you can have like really, like, views, and, but it's that poly pipe,
Poly pipe, yes, that's correct.
so you can basically make it all kinds of.
That's
shapes.
right, yeah.
Just scroll across, you can see that there's no conflicts there.
Yeah.
So this is, connection at intersection, and then this is where there are smaller diameters here. I think these might be creep myrtles, maybe that is an oak. So this one would be open cut limits. So if there's, any concern through here, we can continue the directional drill. And this is, we're trying to get as close to the right of way line as we can, and then extending
So,
from there to Edgewood. So
is there a sidewalk there, or no, there's nothing?
no,
No, are you on the west side of North Main?
No,
this is on the east side. Yeah, north is pointing up here to the right of the page, so east side here, west side here.
So there's no tree conflicts there. Keep going to the next slide, yeah.
Wait a minute, because pretty soon you're gonna be behind, is that the part that's behind the voting office, or you're one block?
Yeah.
We're one block north of that already.
Okay, because you're about to get to the Episcopal cemetery, right?
Here's the
That goes right
cemetery
along the
here.
Cemetery, yeah.
I-
They'll
I
trench
can't see
right
that.
along the border. The zoom in.
Oh, I'm sorry, I know it gets blurry.
See, so cemetery right there, that's the cemetery.
So you go right by where the old water main was.
Oh, you're back in the street there, right?
This we're trying to
Okay,
stay,
got a lot of conversations going on, conversations.
Yeah. This one, we're trying to, stay in the greenway, if you will, back a curve. But again, there are certainly concerns with the fiber and the existing water. Some of this was what we had shown, I guess, kind of left this as it was, before we had this conversation. So if, if there's concerns about some of these trees, and this may be a candidate to drill portions of this, even in the greenway, or in the pavement.
I don't see any heritage trees along that side of the street. You can see a big one depicted there, up there, yeah, nothing on the east side.
Is it possible to get paper copies of this? Because, the tree board is, certainly I'm happy to walk it, and the tree board meets in a couple weeks. They might want to walk it.
I would say a large size amount.
Are there smaller?
There's some.
And I think that's something that the city manager and Karen, would keep, I guess, with the tree board, just making sure the trees.
Sure. Yeah, I can get you a half size, reduced size. So.
Right, because those big ones are, as long as the smaller ones are legible, the big ones are just hard to manage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They like to catch wind when you're walking
There
around.
was no trees involved in this one at all. So it doesn't have to go into
Like I said,
the anything, so.
When he makes the new copies, when he can remove the former commissioner and place them on file.
Okay,
But
Keep going.
I understand.
okay, what were you gonna say?
no matter, we're not gonna be able to please every individual in the city. But, I think the people elected us to make a good judgment. And that's what we're gonna have to do. You're not gonna be able to satisfy everybody, I don't care.
Well, we still,
Jesus come down here, he gonna be able to satisfy all of
I mean,
us.
we're trying to minimize
So,
the impact.
right.
But sitting here, it's very difficult to see from the drawing what we're really talking about. That's what
I
I'm
think what we
saying.
really, what the main focus of this should be, and correct me is where are we gonna have a tree issue? Where do we have a tree issue?
Yeah, I thought we would scroll across,
That's what I'd
just block
like
by
to see,
block.
where do we have a tree issue? I mean, we've gotta leave that up to you as far as, does the sidewalk get disturbed? That's gonna be based on everything that you're putting together, and you're the experts, we are not. But where are we gonna have a tree issue?
Yeah, once you find that tree issue, are you gonna solve it?
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm kind of trying to say too. I mean, if the only solution is to bore,
Well, the only solution is to bore, or, if you go by the guidance, we get far enough away from the drip line where it's not a concern to open cut. And then once you get to a 48-inch oak, it's just
I
game
know,
over.
I know it's difficult, I'm not saying it's not.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that what happens then is the solution is a directional drill, I think is what we're left to do. So I'm not trying
Yeah.
to be short with you or anything like that, but
I
just,
just would love to hear that.
yeah.
So is that the last block there, the bottom right?
I think probably what I can do, I think, from what I'm hearing, is I can go through, I'll highlight the locations of concern, and then if somebody wants to walk it, and distribute it, and can go through, basically, we like this location based on the diameter of the tree, there's the opportunity to go across the street, or where, if this is a concern, we gotta drill it.
And on Prospect Street, on North Prospect Street, which side of the street are you on for that?
Would that be north of Central or north?
Yeah.
Yeah,
North of Florida even.
well, I'm not just talking my house, I'm just looking down the road.
Now across the
Wondering
street,
how many houses are, on each
There's no
side,
sidewalks.
or the impact.
across the street, on the east side of.
That's all.
So we're generally on the east from Florida to Palmetto, and
That
then
would make sense, but
and
there's
then-
no sidewalks, I don't think, anywhere
So
from.
you're on the east side?
Yeah.
See, and that makes sense to me. Yeah.
That makes sense, because there's no sidewalks over there. You'd be working mostly in the grounds.
So you're not.
And really, there's no, if you're going down, you said down to Palmetto,
Yeah.
because there's really
Palmetto.
no trees.
Oh, yes.
There is one right across the street from you, there is one there, but not right there at the front. So once you get further down, there might be one there, just past eucalyptus.
But anyway, so I was just curious.
Mhm.
All right, so you see what we're looking for, and
Yeah,
you send that to me, I can distribute it. those
And
conflicts
I think the
highlighted.
most important thing though is to kind of resolve this to get the project done.
Yeah, we'll have to move forward.
Yeah,
Are they gonna be doing both streets at the same time, or is it gonna be?
So,
Is that, I mean, as far as the funding goes, we'll have the two appropriations for
Mhm.
South Main and Prospect. Will we be doing simultaneous with the same contractor, would it be easier with mobilization and stuff like that to have?
so
Or is that too big for one?
I don't think, I'm just thinking, so you have separate funding mechanisms, for Prospect and Maine, their appropriations, but separate appropriations. I don't think that would be an issue to bid all those. We basically keep our drawings just as they are, this be two separate volumes, but it'd be one bid form. And then we would bid them together. I don't think that would be an issue.
Could the contractor physically do all at once?
Yes, yeah, that wouldn't, I mean, that would certainly be, I mean, ideally, we would want all three to go at once. My recommendation is not to wait on CDBG because they take an awfully long
It'll
time.
be spring.
Yeah.
and you probably would want the same, hopefully we'll get the same contractor because so you have that consistency throughout the
Correct.
projects.
And then from there, and then just cheaper.
And more than likely, if it were, you never know, but more than likely, if you have a mobilized contractor, and things are going relatively well, and the CDBG then goes out to bid, obviously, they're already mobilized, already working, so they're gonna be
Because we're kind of shovel ready.
most cost effective, at bid time as well. I mean, it will allow them to sharpen their pencil for it, in lieu of just a change order too.
So commissioners, do we have any other questions of Cheryl?
I think you did good.
Commissioner Topeka?
I have questions of the commissioners and the city manager. So at this point, I'm a little unclear. Commissioner Banks says we can't please everybody. Commissioner Ward says, well, the main thing is to get the project started. And then Commissioner Ward suggested a public workshop, but I'm not clear on when that was supposed to occur, when the plans are final? Or would we want to have a workshop, before the plans are final?
I think we have to really trust the engineer to come up with the best plan. You know, for us to sit here and try and rip apart a plan,
You can just leave it on that.
I don't think that's fair. It shows irresponsibility.
I'm not talking about ripping apart anyone's plan. The engineer has shown that, he understands the subject area, and I think that it might be really nice for the public to understand what is going on and be able to have their input before the final tweaks are made.
We could show the copy we distribute with this highlight. If you also highlight where there's not much choice of where the pipe goes.
Yeah, so let me, so what I have, let me get that in a form. I think that would be useful for the walk. And let me circulate that to you all, provide feedback. I mean, I'm happy to come, commission meeting or workshop, whatever the case may be, to get it finalized. Once we have the alignment more or less set and in agreement, then it shouldn't take long, but I need to get the DEP permit just for the water main. They're typically, just a couple weeks. And then I think we'll be ready to go to bid. And then the next conversation is after we receive that pricing to see, how it
So we're
looks.
gonna, which one?
Yes, we get that.
Which one we're gonna get, and I think that at that point, then we'll be very public with it.
Mhm.
I think it's just more than anything, it's just making sure that the residents that are impacted, that they know what's about to happen. All of a sudden, you're not out there digging in their yards or digging in the road, and so they're prepared, and they also understand the other side of that, that they understand the other side of it, I know with water pressure and the issues that they have, especially with those hydrants, so.
So and I will, just a word of caution that you can express to the citizens. I mean, we're doing everything we can to make those connections, but more than likely there will be a mishap during construction where a boil water notice or something will have to happen. But we're going to try to limit that to the full extent possible, if not zero. But these jobs they are missing.
Will you do, door hangers? Will there
We'll-
be door hangers?
So that'll be part of the contractor's requirements. Once they get and, we can, as work with Charles to say we only want a couple blocks or 3, whatever we want to contain the work area to kind of, not open up this whole project area that they can't manage. So we can define some of that within the contract documents.
And that's good, I think that's very important, and they have ample notice, because I know when they were doing the sidewalks, that was a big issue, and they weren't, the contractor was supposed to do it, they weren't doing it. And, so that would be something that's important to make sure that the public, that they have. That's it. I'm good. Does anybody else, Commissioner DeVito, you still have some questions?
I do, so I just want to clarify, because you said some things that I could not hear. So we're going to get drawings, we can walk the streets. This is gonna come back to us before this goes out to bid, correct? We'll have an opportunity to comment.
And I think you're gonna take, you're gonna
Yes,
send
we
it
want,
out.
we want
to
the
bid.
public to look at it as well, so we'll probably bring it. The workshop, we don't have anybody come to this workshop,
No,
so
so-
maybe at a commission meeting.
We do it at a commission, we can do it at a commission meeting at
Right,
night,
that's
just for public.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just to communicate,
And you can put it out on, it can be in your manager's report too. That goes out in Waterville,
the website.
that we know people read.
And
Okay, anything else?
well, when we do invite the public, we need to make the meeting later, for a lot of people are not talking about
Well,
4:35.
Exactly.
And the public, I really think they need to be aware of what's gonna take place.
And if you do, kind of like, when DOT does that, and they do the big awards and they show you the final, where every driveway is and everything. I always find those great, and you have the engineer, they can ask questions, right, well, this is my house, what is this gonna mean? And that's, but I mean, we're gonna have most of the planning done before we, open that all up, just so, because right now, everything's unknown. We could move it here, we could move it there, but once we get the final plans done, we're like, okay, this is where it's going. And we want the public to understand that, and so that they know what's going on outside their house. And they're doing the same kind of project right on Kepler Road and Highway 44, or Saber 44, right where we go down to get on I-4. And I just noticed just the other day, we were driving through there, and you can see the big blue pipe, and they're going down, and then the ditch switch directional board thing was there. And I was like, this is so cool. Rachel's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But it's gonna work.
Yeah, so then it's pretty cool.
Yeah. There was no trees there.
Yeah.
It was pretty, just one big long pipe that they're going in, and the big roller things that they roll down. And you
Well,
can
it
just
should
take,
be
Yeah, I just have a little bit of a difference of opinion there. This is a very small town. These are some of our most historic and beautiful streets. We have trees on our website. We say, come here for the beautiful atmosphere. But most of all, I think, given that we are a small town, this is where people's homes and investments are. I don't think that it's the right thing to do to just say, well, we'll show you what's happening when we've decided everything. But I think the right point to show people is before it's bid out and when any comments can be taken or tweaks can be made.
Well,
when we have to have
and we have to understand, Commissioner DeVito, I don't know, what's your water pressure like in front of your house?
Mine's fine.
Okay, mine is too, thankfully, we both have good water pressure, right? That is, you have very poor water pressure, but even if you've got these plans, we have to keep in mind that when these plans come out, if one homeowner doesn't agree with this, we cannot stop there. It's still those plans, we still have to do this. So we just have to be just very open about that, so that they know that this is the concerns, we're gonna do everything, you're gonna do everything you can to mitigate any damages.
Well, that's still my point too, is that the final plans are still before it's bid out, and it's just, and things can always be changed. So I'm not saying we're gonna shove it down and throw it, but right now, we still don't know which side of the street we wanna put it on. So after we get through this process, we can seek further input.
That's my point.
That's what I was saying, so.
Okay.
And also the fact that we have ways to protect the trees, we're not tearing down any trees, except for the camphor tree. Even though the water means all they will tear down the tree.
See, it's probably gonna have to stay because the water line.
Yeah, the water line's gonna go on the other side.
So there you go. That's how that works.
And the old,
Okay.
what is the old water line made out of?
There's different, so the small diameter stuff is galvanized steel,
Yeah, it's
and I think
galvanized,
I think they have cast iron on the larger diameter.
Water pressure. We all take showers at different times for reasons, because it's a 2-inch pipe.
Yeah, that's right, that's,
We all have talked together and made plans.
Is that-
How we do it.
Yeah, I just dug up some, we don't even know what it went to, it was all galvanized and that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do it.
Okay,
All right.
thank you so
Thank you.
much,
Thank you.
and thank you for sitting through the first
Oh,
part
yeah.
of our meeting also. We greatly appreciate this detail, and you'll just get copies to us.
Yes.
Or to Charles, and
Yes,
then he'll
I'll
distribute
take
it.
it, yeah,
I'd like it to go to Charles and then,
Yep.
yeah,
sounds
distribute it.
good, thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Mayor,
Thank you very much.
recommend we reschedule the personnel manual portion. If you guys wanna go ahead and, you started, have comments already, you can provide them to us, we'll schedule another date. I do wanna show you the fire
Yeah,
station,
Jason's left.
He's standing right here.
I'll do
He's on the phone, he's
He's
talking
right
about
out here,
that.
so she needs to
I'll
go.
do it.
Chief, do you have to leave?
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay,
I'll do a preliminary presentation and then we'll have Chief's comment.
okay.
I'll know in a few minutes, but no, not
Mr. Steele, my thunder.
I am.
Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you.
Might not be going tomorrow.
He's with her.
Jason, is there an accident on?
Welcome back.
Jason, is there an accident on?
No, there's a fire alarm.
Where?
Can I have one of those, please?
Oh, yes, all the way to the county line.
Okay.
So I've got plenty of people going, so they're gonna call me if I need to go.
Or just, it's not any of our houses.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I turn my phone on.
Okay, this item, is just to discuss, kind of where we've been with the fire station and what we're asking the state for. And then, Chief's gonna talk about kind of the needs of the fire station. This is an aerial of our current facility with the building and the outdoor, just an awning, a covering. And what we talked about before is, this is it's hard to see, but this is the survey of the property. When we had Robert Taylor, architect, look at the building and ambulance facility there. This was the proposed floor plan, about 1,500 square feet of a bay, dorms, and a kitchen area and some office space. And then it's hard to see, but this is where it was potentially be located on the site. The existing building is here. There'd be a breezeway, and then the new facility in the back, which would require us to probably put a stormwater pond on part of that property. So that's what we looked at. It was coming in close to $1 million. We decided to just look at a whole new facility, start from scratch. And last year we asked for $2 million from the state. I actually asked for it to be a two-phase project, $2 million a year. We're not successful, so we're resubmitted again for just $2 million as a one-time improvement. So this shows where that would have been behind the existing facility. However, in our master planning, or rather, if we were to just go with a whole new facility, it would essentially it would take the footprint of the existing facility, probably go back further. Chief's going to talk about his space needs. What's come up in our opportunity areas is the potential of co-locating City Hall on this site to free up this very viable commercial corner for commercial development. So before we get to that, this could show the new facility, just a firehouse. We could actually bring it all the way up to the road to get more space if we needed, depending on our space needs. This is about the footprint of this building that you're in. I did a sort of an equal size where this does not include our annex building. But this is what that footprint would look like. So if we built another facility, a new firehouse, and the new City Hall with a drive-through, allow for drive-through and parking, the aprons needed for the firehouse, probably a large stormwater pond. We would remove virtually all the impervious surface. And then staff parking would be, we own this property over here, staff would park off-site, this would be public parking, just as a general concepts of how that might be facilitated. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. The chief's gonna talk about what he needs in terms of bays and equipment. We've got some equipment that sits out in the weather. However, we do have an extra truck that we get from the county. We don't have the people to drive it. But I'll let you talk about those needs.
Well, thank you for having me tonight. We want to get into discussion. I know you guys have talked in the past. We've discussed this a few times.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, so you're, Michael finishes interruption.
He's trying to go to a meeting in the annex and he's locked out.
Oh, we locked out, I got you.
Oh, thanks, Christina.
Okay. So, like Charles said, we've discussed trying to get appropriations for a building and stuff, but we really haven't talked about why or what the needs were, I guess. I've been up here and spoke to you guys a few times on needs and stuff in the past. Some of the pictures I sent you are just basic, they're photos of the fire station that we currently have. Most of you guys have been here for a long time and know it was not built as a fire station. It was built in the '70s as as an auto shop. And so it really doesn't fit the needs, never has fit the needs, but we've utilized it to make it work. The building currently, including the office area, is about 4,000 square feet. We have a shed out back with equipment in it because we don't have room inside the office. We also have the boat and an extra squad truck to pull the boat out back under carports. They currently won't fit in any bays that we have. Give you an idea, a general firehouse today built, and I'm thinking of future expansions and things like that as well, where we would be maybe a full-time paid service or have paid, we've talked about incorporating the ambulance into this building as well. Just for a single engine company today with the equipment and facilities they need, the firehouse is about 4,500 square feet, just for one single engine. We currently have 2 engines, a tanker, a squad, a boat, and an SUV. And that's without the ambulance.
Yeah.
So as we're looking to move forward with this, we have a 4,000 square foot footprint that doesn't suffice our needs now. We're looking more like 7,800 square feet, probably just to meet our needs. And if we want to expand that for anything else, it would be larger. Like Charles was talking, if you're looking to put City Hall, if it was going to be attached, you're probably looking 10 to 12,000 square foot footprint. Detached, what we're looking at is probably somewhere around 9 to between 7,800 and 9 to incorporate the ambulance, plus a minimum of 6 sleeping quarters. For expansion, I would recommend 8 to 10. Looking at that, probably about an 8 by 10 room is what they currently would utilize. That would be a bed, a desk, and 3 lockers. And so it doesn't allow much room to move around, but they just sleep in there, do some study work and things like that. So I know there's a lot of stuff, I have a lot of information and things too. I don't know how much you need or whatever, but our current bays are about 15 to 20 feet wide, to 40 feet deep. The average length of a fire engine that we currently have is 32 feet long. So it barely fits in there. Pardon me?
So you got 4 feet on both sides, and you let all the way in.
So on both sides to walk around, so to open doors and check trucks, when you start opening doors, you lose that room. Lisa, can you turn his page to, you got the one where you see all the weight equipment, the grill and stuff?
I'm showing mine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That one there, I mean, that kind of shows what we're looking at right now. We're trying to create some type of workout space. That's the SUV. You see, we don't have much room. We have a grill turned sideways. We have to pull outside to use. There's just not any space to expand or do anything with. So for future, we definitely need to expand this and move on forward with that. I proposed to Charles, I sent him a sheet a while back, discussing this, and somewhere between 7,800 and 9,800 square feet, depending on the ambulance bay and stuff. And there's a lot of ways to look at it. You can do single wide bays. I would recommend 7. If you're gonna do a double wide, then you can probably get away with 4. So it just depends on what a building, contractor would recommend and saving costs. Would it be cost savings to build a bigger, larger square building to incorporate both of them? The county currently has a station they built in East Palaca. Their bays are, I think it was 40 to 50 is what their station is, but they can only fit a single engine in there. They have an engine, a tanker, and then they have an ambulance and a small brush truck back to back. We have more equipment than they do, and they're a staff facility. Right, to kind of give you an idea. We're staffed Monday through Friday, but the goal is we're getting volunteers to stay in here, and we currently don't have proper facilities for them to sleep in overnight. But with the incentive package, we've ramped that up, and we're actually getting some pretty good, some pretty good hours. I I send Charles a monthly report every month, and I don't know if he shares, but, you know, the hours that they're required to work compared to the hours they're putting in almost double the hours they're required to be there. So I think that program, I appreciate you guys approving that. I think that program's worked well. It's not perfect, you know, we still have issues and once again, have issues for the people to stay.
Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I still have all that information as we move forward. If we need to look at pay, you know, converting some paid people still with the volunteer as we move into the future and things like that. There's a lot that goes into this. And I think the planning time is now to project this for the future, to plan for an expansion. We all know the volunteerism is dwindling. We're doing the best we can to keep them here. And that package worked great to help us out and keep our personnel here. But we do need proper housing for it. There's a page in there that shows the lockers and the equipment. Our gear is currently stored inside the bays with the equipment, which that's a big cancer component. You know, most of the facilities have moved to separate rooms and things like that because all the diesel fumes are cancer causing and it's causing cancer in the service as well. So we're still stuck with that. We just don't have any other room to put our gear anywhere else. And it's gotta be, I don't want to say climate controlled, but it can't be stuck in a shed where it's humidity and then it rots the gear and gear's $3,000-4,000 a set,
The
so.
rubber and all stuff for like your breathing apparatuses and all that.
Absolutely, yes, sir, yes, sir. So, and we just got, the county just received a grant, so we have brand new breathing apparatus in there. We don't want to ruin things and stuff like that, so.
Is any part of the building climate controlled? Is
The offices, the front offices, there's two offices and a day room, which is, on the packet as well. It shows you it's small. It's got two of those little narrow tables in there. They're 6 foot by 18-inch tables. There's 4 of them up there. That makes our office meeting and training area, which is kind of a little
And
inefficient
that's,
for what.
isn't that, since you have to close the upstairs down, and that where they're having to sleep the cots downstairs?
So the upstairs doesn't meet any type of code requirements. What happened, it was a storage room that was transitioned into a sleeping quarters. It can be utilized as a temporary basis, but nothing long-term and permanent.
But
And so yeah, so for the most part, the guys sleep downstairs on a cot in there, you know, so that's, you know, the whole point is to make appropriate facilities, safe, you know, more up to date, to get rid of the fumes for our gear, the cancer, rooms for our cascade system to be in. We have a lot of equipment there that's kind of stuffed in nooks and crannies. We have a washing machine that we have to move 4 or 5 items to get out just to wash a set of gear. Because you have to have separate gear washers from your household laundry as well. You need an extractor to extract all the cancer causing agents out of that. That goes separate from your normal stuff. So there's just a lot of different equipment. And when I say mechanical rooms, I'm not just talking about your AC rooms and stuff. There's mechanical rooms that we need that each room needs to be 200 to 300 square feet for gear, like a 300 square foot room, a mechanical room for our cascade system, an O2 cascade or a washer for an extractor and a dryer, another 200 square feet. So that all adds on to when you're looking at not only living quarters, some type of eating area, a training facility, training room, not facility, but a room to train in, you know, efficiently, or what we'd like to see is something not quite this large, but at least half of this where we could put 15 or 20 people in there and perform an adequate training. As you guys know, we're, you know, I don't want to say every week, but probably once or twice a month, we're doing classes right now. Your first day, your stop to bleed, all these classes, and a lot of times we're having to go to other places to do the class because our facility is not large enough. Yeah, Charles, you talked a lot about, you know, incorporating City Hall here and stuff.
Yeah, can I have a question?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't mean to ramble. I just want to get as much information out and then you guys ask me whatever you want to ask.
You know, at one time we were talking about putting EMT with you guys too.
That's incorporated.
And so that would be,
That was about 7,800 square feet would be just for us. If you increase another 1,000 or
Okay.
1,500, that would incorporate that ambulance.
Incorporate that. I didn't get that from here.
Yeah.
Maybe I may have missed something, but the other thing is why all of a sudden are we, wanting to put City Hall over there?
That just came out in the master planning process as a potential idea. They felt this corner is very valuable real estate.
Yeah, but we have another valuable.
Well, they felt to keep the presence on City Hall in 1792 more visible and not take up downtown.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but we do have another valuable corner here that's for sale as far as I know, but it's never sold.
And I think and that's another discussion that we'll
Right.
get into
So-
on Thursday night, but I think a lot of it's as we go into the future. And
And so what we're looking at here is when you start talking about things like this, everything costs money. As Charles mentioned, it was almost $1 million for a 1,200 square foot building and a 1,500 square foot bay. All right, so when you start looking at this, the price for these stations now is between $3 and $4 million on the low end.
The county just built one for 2 million.
Well, that was two-year-old money. You know, so when you're looking 2 years ago, $2 million is now about 3.7 million in today's world of what the realistic, avenue of it is. So when you're looking at that, you gotta understand that. And we talked about appropriations, and the $2 million seems to be the nice number for the state, still leaves us on the hook for possibly $2 more million. And as you go through with this and we start replacing equipment gear and, fire trucks are now over $500,000 for a piece of fire apparatus, and our truck's currently 12 years old. So sometime in the next 3-4 years, we're gonna be looking at replacing that as well. So there's a lot of stuff going
So
on.
it's $2 million just for the fire, for the.
It'll be in excess of $2 million to build a new station. Yes, ma'am.
There, I have a question. I guess we should.
As far as the suitability of this building, I mean, I was here during Hurricane Gene or Francis, and when we were standing behind City Hall and half the roof flew away. Because you guys were all in City Hall with us.
Correct.
So I mean, this building is not at all suitable. I mean, we need to make sure we replace it with something that is masonry, that is, solid, so that when there's an emergency, you guys are safe there, and you can go save the rest of us.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as the working with the county, or as far as the agreement that we have with the county, I'm not as up on it, I know what it was 20 years ago, but we used to pay for our firefighters here and have ran the station, and the county paid for the apparatuses and the engines and.
It's a version of that, Commissioner. It's not the same as it was. We still have day guys Monday through Friday. We pay for it as well as the volunteers. The county supplements with a budget of about $50,000 a year, and they provide the tanker, the squad, and one engine they provide. We've spoke about that in the past. Do we have enough personnel to run all the trucks at one time? Absolutely not. We don't. If we had to downsize one engine and reduce this, we could. I wouldn't recommend going any lower than that, just to keep the proper apparatus in place. But we have a city engine and a county engine that do the same thing. The only benefit is if one breaks, then we always have another one to lean on. But I spoke to Charles. We could always get some type of an agreement with the county where if our engine was out for service or something, we could get a loaner from them if they had a loaner available, things like that, just to offset.
And also, there was a countywide MSBU or MSTU on the taxing unit for the fire service, but we opted out of that under the former administration.
Correct.
But we're still, so we're not paying it as citizens, but we're still getting to have the same benefits from the county as far as the.
Yes, they haven't reduced our budget, like they did another department's budget.
And I just to
But they are
finish,
looking at it, I hear that all the
It's something
time,
that
they
I think
are looking, they do look at that,
talk to them
because
and make
that's
sure
still
that's-
a very sensitive subject.
Well,
It's sensitive for them, and part of the issue with that was, the previous commission at that time was asking questions that they didn't have answers to, and it was pretty basic questions, basically like, what are we getting for our money? They had no answers to it. That was their decision to opt out at the time. And the issue was at that point is what we were getting by paying the money, we had been getting for the previous 15 years I had been here. So nothing had changed as for getting any extra equipment, personnel, gear, things like that. Cost of doing business, of course, it increased. They didn't,
And
they didn't speak of that, so.
so also, so just so I can understand, you respond to fires not just in the city limits.
Correct.
You cover,
I have a 35 square mile district that incorporates, all the way out to, Georgetown Point, almost, it's Harris Fish Camp Road. We go all the way to, Lake George on Harris Fish Camp Road. That actually is where our district ends there, to the county line, to the middle of Lake Crescent. And we stop just before the high school going north. The high school is actually in a different fire
And so-
district.
the ambulance, that's currently based out of Union Avenue, is that where it is?
Yes,
And that's where, and so, and that unit covers kind of the same area.
It covers, yes, and they have another one in Satsuma, so they split the south end of it.
I'm trying to get that.
Yeah, I understand.
And I mean, most of their calls, I think, would be coming into town or, I mean, density wise.
It's 50-50 split. I've run the numbers over a 10-year period, and it's about 50-50 split of in city and outside city limits. And we spoke to the director, the previous fire chief, and the current fire chief, and they're all still on board of incorporating an ambulance with us to move it in town.
That's a county run service,
Yes,
correct?
They are supportive of that.
they're supportive of that. They're not supportive of putting any funds towards the building, but they're supportive of putting the apparatus and the personnel in the building.
And they know legislatively that this is a priority of ours, and they'll support this
They support
legislation.
it.
Commissioner DeVito?
Commissioner DeVito, yeah.
Sure, thank you. So where does this leave us if we get the $2 million from the legislature, but it is not sufficient to build the building that is needed? Where does that leave us?
Well, I think the $2 million would allow us to go through the design process and kind of figure out, it's kind of like with our water projects. First, we've got to design it, pay for all that. Then we know how much the project's gonna cost us. We can go out to bid and then get the bids, and we realized we were $1 million short. We'll have to figure out how we wanna handle that.
But for example, if this is a legislative appropriation, I don't know what you asked them for. I think it would be helpful for us. No,
2 million for a fire and ambulance.
I'm not-
Is it for designing
Yes.
the money,
engineering, or is it?
I'm saying, that's my question, it would be helpful to see the language of what we specifically have asked them for. And then to get clarification, I think if it's capital, I mean, are they gonna let us use it for design? If it's, we wanna make sure that whatever funding we get is not required to be spent in 1 year, because it sounds like that would not be possible.
Yeah, I can show you the application. It was for design, engineering, and construction. And also, it did include, our law enforcement substation, which that's another source of funding. We could, the sheriff's office could help us go after some funding for a piece of that.
Right, but does the square footage that Jason has mentioned
No,
allow?
not clear. We'd have to add more square footage for those
Okay.
offices.
So, well, I guess, I guess this is what we know now. You've asked for the funding. I think it would be helpful to just see the narrative of what you asked for. And as well, were applications put in for both the House and the Senate funding?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all my questions. Thank you. And it's a lot of work.
And I would just like to say that the fire station looks great.
Thank
You guys redoing the parking lot and painting, I mean, I drove by the one day, I'm like, wow, that looks so, I mean, yes, it's a sheet metal building and it's old, but it looks, best it's been looked for my.
The aesthetics of that paint job really went
Yeah.
all the way.
It really is. It looked so good, the county decided they were gonna follow.
Most of the county buildings are now that paint scheme, so.
But it does.
Thank you.
If you get an opportunity though, I would recommend, to get with the chief and have him just kind of take you through and show you,
Yeah.
you know, what they are dealing with, and they've been dealing with for a long time. And a lot of this in the front, I know it was a cost savings to the city because you had volunteers and you kind of constructed that whole front area
Yeah.
and built that out. And so,
Yeah, we've had to do some interior remodels over the past 10 years just to help it function. I mean, we never had hot water until about 10 years ago. You know, maybe 12 years ago now, but, you know, hot water and a shower, that was not even in the facility, you know, and things like that were done right as I was taking over, right before I was taking over as chief. So it's been a little bit of time, so.
Well, I think the time is right to start planning for the future here, and definitely, there are funding mechanisms that we can get. I like the idea of a sheriff's substation and the ambulance. I just think it makes a lot of sense to have all that together.
I do too.
And I think it's better for citizens and everything else, residents. My only one other comment would be, I think that we should try and make it look a little, more historic perhaps when we do build it. If we're talking wish list, I know that, that architecturally, it doesn't look like a sheet metal building, I think we want to move away from that.
When we had the other building design too, that was part of the issue with
Yeah, that was
keeping
really-
the cost down. $900,000 for a 1,200 square foot building is still a metal building,
Yeah,
and
and that's pretty much what you get with all of these,
Yeah.
they are.
but there are ways to take those metal buildings and turn the fronts of them
Right.
facades, put a facade on that,
Yeah.
and, you know.
Siding.
And I think, yeah,
Absolutely.
just, trying to.
Do you guys have any other questions about me? And we can always have more discussion on this, and I can send you guys information if you need more information about things, but.
Commissioners, do y'all have any other
I was
questions?
just wondering
No,
if we
I'm
could
hungry.
information from the county about that station in Oakland's Placa. If we
And I-
could maybe get just a floor plan,
Yeah,
just to see.
I'm
as an
thinking
idea.
So
of
the full plan is-
interlock in those, in that northern library.
Well, they're redoing one in Rock and Do, and it's like, the one you're speaking of in East Palaca, they're not happy with it.
Yeah.
Its total size is 3,000 square feet.
Oh, that was.
It's tiny, it's very tiny for the living quarters. The kitchen is a very long, narrow, skinny thing. I have a couple interior pictures.
It's not a great example.
Yeah, it's not a very good example of what we actually, and it's another metal building.
Yeah.
So it is a big square bay with a rectangular metal part attached to it, and that's,
I think they're thinking though, the one in Interlochen would be more of an example once they're done.
I
Is
see.
that the one, is that the one that?
they're
or is it the other
redoing,
one?
they have two projects in work. They're doing a station in, they've built a new station, or in the process of, and they're redoing, remodeling one and incorporating living quarters and stuff in a station, kind of like we have that didn't have it, but they have a, masonry structure to do that with, and not a dilapidated building that was built for some other purpose.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any other questions of the chief?
Anybody?
I'm glad to see the boat's still there. That was a-
We're trying to maintain that.
Thank you.
It looks good when you
Yeah.
buy it. I mean, it's 2 years old. And it still runs, and that's great. Good job.
Thank you, guys. If
Thank
you have
you so
anything, just
much.
please
Thank
let
you.
me know.
I'll come by and visit.
Absolutely.
See, but it's been a while.
You might want to reach out and make sure that he's here, so that,
Yeah, I work Daytona full-time still.
I got the email, that you have.
Yeah.
I would just-
Anything else for you?
You got some good men over there.
I do.
You do.
I do.
I appreciate
they do, they do a great job.
Yeah.
And it's, their public outreach is awesome too. So
Yeah, the
very
website, the website is very nice.
Okay, so for the personnel manual,
Yeah, we're gonna, let us know that.
Maybe reschedule that.
do you want to reschedule? Wait, can we just, we got a lot of conversations going on, can I, wait a minute, everybody, cool your jets, I know, you too, thank you. That was my stomach.
Was that your stomach? Oh, I thought that was yours.
Commissioner Banks thought it was his stomach, it was my stomach, it was my stomach, he was like, oh my. Charles, do you want to, before we go forward, only because, Silly me spent hours on the old one, to make sure that everybody knows that this is, that the other one's towards the back. That's
Yeah,
all
new
that
one's
we're looking
Yeah, I
at.
was wondering what that was like.
Yeah.
It would have been great. if-
I spent hours.
The new one is excellent, by the way.
Yeah.
Very comprehensive.
There's some things that,
Okay, where's the break between the new and the old?
There's a cover on the.
there's a cover, see, there's a cover right here.
Oh, so that would have been nice to know.
Okay, I got that.
The one thing I did mention to him that we need to add into this is to make sure that our computers and our emails, that we have a policy is included in this one, the new one on this one. So is there anything else, Charles, anybody needs to, what are you looking for when we bring this back from the commission so we're prepared?
The main thing was to get comments like that you feel like you're missing a couple things, and,
Is there a policy?
concerns or questions, I was not able to do a side-by-side comparison, it's really, because the other one's so big, and it has 3 addendums.
Yeah, I know, it's very big.
Yeah, I only got through half of it, and I couldn't read anymore.
I sent this to, Susan Erdley to
Okay.
review, she's gonna give us if they agree to review it, they'll give us a contract to do that cost, so I'll show that and bring it back to you. Just to make sure we're in compliance with current labor laws.
Okay.
I remember the old one, that I was reading, there was something that said media policy or something, it didn't have anything to do with media, do we have to be there about? And, something we discussed at email once was, at your employees talking to the media or news outlets about something that's going on in case of a crisis or emergency, It just might be something we need to know.
Those are the kind of comments we need.
Yeah.
Send us to me, what do you think?
Do you want
I'll
us to
read the
send,
new ones.
well, do you want us to send it to you? I mean, because you're gonna be getting, how do you want us to?
Yeah, just send them to me.
Everybody send it to you?
And then, on Thursday, we'll schedule another date.
Yeah.
for the workshop date.
Okay,
I would
that-
adjourn.
We have a
we
meeting
don't, we
tomorrow.
can't have a motion, I'm just gonna adjourn the workshop.
Okay, well, let's
Go
adjourn.
ahead, Karen.
We have a meeting tomorrow night.
Well, it's the Florida Main Street Public Input Meeting.
Florida Main
Public,
Street,
public.
it's public, but we did advertise it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that starts at 6:30 tomorrow evening.
Yes.
So we'll make sure everybody knows that, please try to be in attendance, that'll be different, so. Okay, with that, we are adjourned at 5:52,
And it's dark outside.
and it's dark out.
Yeah.
Well, almost.
Madam Chair.
While you were sleeping, it turned light.
No, I don't, it woke me up.